Moderators, are you guys ready? Melite and Miki Tigray?
Ready.
Okay, thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you for coming in. Thank you. Kamel lakum, dahanarikum. So we are going to have a conversation today about the new book. It's a book release panel discussion. The book is about the diaspora struggle to be voice for the people of Tigray. This book is The Power of Unity and Perseverance by Dr. Gidey Amara. So we're excited to be here. We're excited to talk about this. But before we get started, let's do a moment of silence for our Samatatna. So 1 minute starting now. Rafti, thank you so much, everyone. Before I give the mic to the moderators, our wonderful moderators, I'm just going to go over a couple of things here real quickly. One, this panel discussion will be both in Tigrinya and English. So panelists, feel free to talk whichever language you choose. And then just to remind everyone to be respectful to organizations, political parties. We're here to promote this wonderful book, not to discuss anything else. So panelists, please follow the guidance from our moderators, and then please be respectful to time. Just a little bit about the book. 100% of the profit from this book is going to our wounded Tagadalti and Tigray. So 100% will be donated. The book is now available in person for $40, and it's also available on Amazon. We'll talk more about the how to get the book. Now, before I pass on the mic to the moderator. Just a few thank yous to make this panel discussion already a success, and then also for this book release. First, Dr. Gidey Amara for really telling our stories here in the diaspora, for writing this book. I also like to thank the moderators, our wonderful moderators, Meliti, Garumeskal, and then Miki Tigray. Thank you, guys. By the way, Meliti, not only she's hosting, moderating this event, but her and her community, the Colorado community, bought 50 books to gift the graduates this year. So we're so grateful for you, Meliti, and then Denver community. I also like to thank TMH, particularly at Takhilti and that day. Thank you guys, Nagasi as well. Thank you for this, for broadcasting this panel discussion. Thank you to all panelists for being here. We appreciate you for making your time to be here. I would also like to thank, this book would not be here today without our wonderful SJT board members for helping finance this book from the beginning. So SJT board members, kudos to you guys. Thank you. I would also like to thank the SJT advocacy and diplomacy team for advising and supporting, as well as the PR team. I'd also like to thank the marketing team, wonderful marketing team to get this book here. Elsa Hagos, Dr. Gidey, Yasmina, Abi Teka, Dr. Mahatema, Dr. Teka, Samrawi, Kandeya, Angasom. Thank you, guys. If I left out any names, please remind me later on, Dr. Mahatema or Yasmina. Thank you to our advisors, Aiteza Aman, Dr. Teka, Dr. Gidey. And then just one more thank yous to in advance for this organization's allowing us to sell the books at their events, upcoming events. Wa'ala Tigray, TPN, and the Minnesota community. And so we'll be selling the books in person there from June 28th and 29th. So thank you, Wa'ala, TPN, the Minnesota community. I would also like to thank Agazi Alumni Association for allowing us to sell the books in Dallas, Texas, in the Dallas community. Thank you. That would be July 6th. Third Tigray Festival, Yutna and Atlanta community. Yutna, again, thank you so much. July 8th to 14th, that will be Tigray Festival. We'll be there selling these books as well. So thank you again, guys. And then lastly, our DMV community, Aita Amara and the DMV Tigray community that will be hosting us to do a book launch in Washington, D.C. The date will be announced. With that said, Melita, please take it away. Thank you again. Melita.
Thank you, Danny. It's really an honor to be with everyone today. If you could do me just a housekeeping item, if everyone can mute if it's not your time yet, because the camera is flashing to wherever the noise is. My name is Meliti Berhana Mescal, not Gabra Mescal, although there's probably a great Gabra Mescal out there somewhere. My father is Berhana Mescal, and I'm really honored to be with everyone today to talk about this incredible book, The Power of Unity and Perseverance. I'm a journalist, and I was a professional journalist for over 10 years and walked away from that career and then jumped right back in the fire when the genocide began in Tigray. So I'm really happy to be here with you all today. This incredible book and the impact that it will have in our communities. So one thing that I often say is, and this is not my quote, it's Chinua Achebe, an incredible West African author who wrote a book called Things Fall Apart. And in the book, he says, until the lion tells his own story, the hunt will always glorify the hunter. And I never forgot that, never. And it couldn't be more true in what happened in Tigray and the genocide in Tigray. So the power of unity and perseverance was a big gift to us, an incredible gift. It sort of put the puzzle together, brought everything together. And as you all know, the Ethiopian government was telling a very perverted story about what was happening in our homeland, and in fact was glorifying the hunter. And so we had to do our part collectively to come together to combat that story. And so there were two parts to this, the way that I see it. You had the academics, you had the SJT, there were other organizations as well who were doing the media campaigns, the letters, the petitions, the white papers. I mean, constantly outwitting and outsmarting, the Ethiopian government, out researching. It was really incredible. But that wasn't enough. You had to make the head meet the heart in the story. And so you had our street warriors. You had people with bullhorns in New York. You had us clogging up the Golden State, I think, was it the Golden State Bridge in Denver International Airport? I mean, just different facilities and places, traffic, just stopping traffic all over the world, frankly. I gave you a lot of examples of what happened here in the US, but it took both of these sides, the head and the heart, to come together to tell a story about what was really happening. And that's what's beautiful about this book, The Power of Unity and Perseverance. One more thing I didn't mention too was the social media soldiers. You had people 24/7 rotating countries. It was in Africa, and when the time shifted, it would be in Europe, and it would shift and it would be in the US, but 24/7 Twitter campaigns and social media campaigns. So it took all of us really coming together, giving guidance to one another. You know, at times it was the academics who had to give us guidance and language to describe what was happening. And other times you needed the street warriors who were saying, do you hear me? Can you hear me? And it was just an incredible story of unity and strength and everyone coming together to really stop the genocide. And I mean, I would argue the genocide still isn't over. Genocides just don't end all of a sudden, but maybe the most severe part, or maybe the most visible part, certainly was stopped in its tracks thanks to the work of the diaspora. And so this book is really incredible in capturing those stories. So without further ado, because there's so many people we want to talk to, I do believe Dr. Gidey, the author of this incredible book, is with us. And Dr. Gidey, if you're here, I'd love to just bring you on for a second so you can talk about the motivation for the book and what led you to bring all of these stories together into one place. I'm going to give you the mic if you're there.
Thank you, Melita. I wish I have the way you have just you articulate things in a way that people can easily understand and pass the message to all the audience. So, Melita, thank you. And thank you all for coming here to share your, to give your comments and share your ideas about the book. And before I go to the motivation that I have for writing this book, please allow me to say a couple of points. The first one is I want to express my heartfelt gratitude for your incredible, Melita, for your incredible contribution over the past 3 years. As a matter of fact, it is thank you for being such a compassionate and inspiring fighter in the past 3 years. And honestly speaking, it was the unwavering dedication, unstoppable spirit, and the unity and perseverance that you individuals like yourself and the entire diaspora Tigray community that touched me and that deeply touched me and inspired me to write this and to put this information together. So thank you for that. And the other point that I want to make is the scope of work that diaspora community has done in the past 3 years, over the past 3 years, it's so tremendous and so vast. You cannot, practically speaking, it's impossible to capture everything that has been done in a single volume like this book. And importantly, writing about all this requires collective efforts and special skill and experience that I don't believe I have. I'm not a qualified writer, and I'm not a journalist report, but I just start writing it to express my feelings and motivated by the joint struggle of the diaspora community. So the other point that I would like to make is writing this information not easy, because collecting information was not easy. Reaching out to people was not easy. And we don't have a central organized repository information that you can easily access and write something. So that was one challenge that we have, and we have to work on that to make things, easy. And on top of that, collecting the necessary information to write this volume has been so challenging, as I said. So it's very important to recognize that a significant amount of advocacy campaign and struggles have been executed by numerous accomplished individuals behind closed doors. And there are several individuals or groups that have been working and continue to work day and night without seeking media attention. And their information, most of the information may not be captured in this book. And there is a reason for that. And given the struggle that's ongoing, still ongoing, Tigray is still suffering. Some of the information may not be necessary at this point to bring them out. But my hope is when things are over, when the struggle is settled, more volumes of books will come, capturing all the remaining information and addressing all the individuals who played their role, critical role in the struggle that we did in the past 3 years. So in essence, I'm saying that what is presented in this volume is the tip of iceberg. And the volume has only scratched the surface. So no one should feel their efforts have been overlooked or undervalued. My strong belief is that many more volumes will be produced in the future to document the struggle in its entirety. So to come to your question, Melita, I have some reasons that motivated me to assume this project. Writing the responsibility of writing this volume. One is during the SJT annual conference, one of the attendees recommended that the letters that has been written over the past years should be compiled, and it was actually Diplomat Johannes. He may not be here with us today, and at some point, Aita by Gidey similarly suggested that the letters written over the past 3 years, course of 3 years, should be compiled and documented to constitute a slice in Tigray's history. They have to be compiled and made them available as part of Tigray's history. So let me use this opportunity to thank them because their recommendation triggered my interest and boosted my energy to write this book. The second point that the second motivating reason was this: I have a strong belief that the past accomplishments should be narrated and documented to ensure that the stories are passed on to the future generation. And there is also this saying, if you don't document, you don't work it. So we have to document it because we have worked it. So that was the second belief that I had to write this, or use as a motivating reason to write this information. The third one is I found it advisable to compile scattered information that are available here and there. Just put them in one volume so that you can easily get them, or without any, a lot of time spending searching for information on the internet. Sometimes it may not be easy to get the information if you are not using the right searching term or the keywords, and you may end up in numerous information that will be difficult to analyze and put. So this book, puts all the information that are available here and there. It may not be new, but that's one reason that triggered my interest to write. And the fourth is I use writing as a tool to express my concerns and make a plea to my brothers, sisters, and friends of the Tigray diaspora and the international community as well, urging them to uphold unity and perseverance. My hope is that this book will serve as a reminder of the importance of the solidarity during the times of adversity. And Tigray still continues to suffer from daunting challenges that demand our collective effort and unyielding determination. So, Militi, I think some of the reasons that motivated me to write this book are
Thank you.
the things that I mentioned, but there are other reasons too. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gidey. And I know we're going to get into the book more and more as the conversation continues. But you said something that was really interesting. You said something about scattered information, the information that's just scattered everywhere, and we're trying to collect it. It reminds me of when we first began organizing, when the genocide first began. And as you know, and as everyone knows now, there was a complete blackout in Tigray. So we had no way to get information except for when refugees were pouring over the border initially, before the border was cut off. And I remember, I think Lilith was the first one to go into Sudan and start capturing that information. But we really didn't have much. And so we were sort of in the dark, and we were trying to figure this out. And, you know, we were, you could tell our movement was very fragmented at that point. And slowly but surely, we started getting organization. We started coming together, and you had maybe a dozen groups that were organizing around their specific interests and talents, and SJT comes up, you know, out of those ashes as well. It's a beautiful story, but your book is also organized sort of in that way. So you talk about SJT and how SJT came together. You talk about the protests, and what's amazing to me about the protests that were happening around the world is we sort of reverse engineered what the Ethiopian government was doing. The Ethiopian government was using social media to push their agenda and say, you know, these are terrorists. They, you know, this is what, you know, whatever, all the stories they were making up. And we were able to reverse that and use social media in our advantage, which is part of your book. You talk about the different groups all over the world, really. Then you have the white papers, where you know, give a very detailed story and history. And I know even for myself as an activist, there were times where we didn't know how to frame conversations. And so we're trying to talk about what's happening, but we don't even have a framework for it. And so we were able to turn to SJT, and there were other organizations too, but primarily SJT. And the letters were so powerful. Can you just briefly, and I know we have a lot of people who we're going to be talking to today, and we'll probably come back to you, I'm sure, but can you talk a little bit about the way the book is organized and why you chose these specific sort of sections to be able to put the story together? And we know it's not the full story. You can't tell the full story in one book. So we expect many more to come out in, you know, in different ways. But tell us about the organization of the book and why you structured it in this way.
Thank you again, Melita. And you raised one point, the hardship of getting information, particularly the use or the community, part of our community that were born and raised here. They were not, they didn't have any clue on what is going on and why is the war declared against Tigray. They were just asking questions about that. There wasn't any compiled information to give them and read and understand what's going on. So that was very important. So but this time I think we start documenting and having some information to share. So the book is organized in 4 parts. Part 1 is about, as you mentioned, SJT, when SJT was established, how it was established, why it was established. There was a reason about that. Maybe Teka and Mahtamawe chime in later on to explain the cause of the reason. But and it's also tells about who played key roles from inception to birth when SJT was first established. So and it offers highlights of SJT's accomplishments and achieved in coordination with several other Tigrayan communities, associations, organizations, and advocacy groups. So this part basically is about SJT, but also some critical accomplishments achieved as a result of the joint and unified struggle in the diaspora. So if anyone is interested to learn about SJT, that part will give some highlights on who SJT is and what it accomplished. And the second part of the book is all about the groundbreaking demonstrations, protests, and petitions and media campaigns that have been instrumental in shaping the narrative and landscape of the genocidal war in Tigray. So it presents some incredible stories that reflect the bitter struggle and resilience of the Tigray diaspora community in every corner of the world. If you want to know what happened in Colorado or New York or in Seattle, Washington, in Los Angeles, or in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, or in Washington, D.C., this book will give you, this part will give you some great, incredible stories that you might be interested to read about. So that's the second part. And the third part of the book is related to a white paper and that SJT team has produced and released in 2021. And if you remember, when before and after the war was declared in November 2020, and throughout the conflict time, the federal government was the federal government of Ethiopia and its allies were widely spreading unfounded allegations that the war started because the northern command of the Ethiopian force were attacked by TPLF. And they continue to do this even today. They still argue that the war started because of that. So, that influenced the somehow influenced the international community, the way they reacted to, or they just remain indifferent to what was happening in darkness, because they thought that TPLF is something or a party that should be punished, but they didn't really went deep to look into the root cause of this war. So because of this, the white paper counters the disinformation. To counter the disinformation campaign, SJT established a team and starts writing to provide answers to questions, including who started the war? When did it start? How did it start? Was it really because of what the government is telling the world? Started because the military, the North Command army was attacked by TPLF? Was it really a peace and order operation, as it was claimed? Or was it a premeditated, or just started spontaneously? So that is the white paper is trying to answer those questions. If you are interested to know the root cause of the war, how it started and when it started, who started it, please read that white paper. it will give you facts and analysis of the true code of the war. And the last part, I think Ayasam probably is here, will say about the letter, the process used to write letters. And the Aman may also, if you're here, may also share how the letters were distributed and who were the receivers and what was the content of the letter. This part provides like about 500 letters compiled and included as part of this book. So that's how the book is organized. So anyone interested to know about SJT, they can go to SJT. Anyone interested to know about the incredible demonstrations that happened across the world, you can just go to the part 2. And if you want to know the root cause of the war, you just go to the white paper, you can read that and give you facts. And then if you want to know the content of the letters and who the receivers of the letters were, part 4 will give you that information. Thank you so much, Melita.
Thank you again, Dr. Gidey. We could probably have a 2-hour conversation just about the book alone, but I know there's a lot of people here that we want to bring on. So thank you so much for bringing this together. And I just wanted to highlight what you said about the diaspora youth, those who were born here, because we all know it was a lot of those, you know, 2nd and 3rd generation young people who led, especially the social media campaigns and the protests and, you know, all of that. And there was a big information gap. And I am not embarrassed to say I was a part of that. It was a big, steep learning curve, even for myself, and understanding how we got here and what actually happened. So I'm very grateful that all of that came together in the role of SJT. So thank you so much. I'm going to introduce our next speaker, and I'm not sure if Ambassador Fissaha is on the call. If he is, maybe someone can give me a thumbs up, but I want to just read a quick excerpt from something that he said. I think it was during a protest, perhaps, and it was just really powerful. So I'm going to read it. I'm not sure if he's here to be able to elaborate, maybe, or give us a little bit of his story, but I'll make this really quick. But Ambassador Fissaha scorned, Eritrea, sanctioned by the UN, became an irrelevant country for years, confined in a corner and languished as an inconsequential pariah for years. Today, thanks to Abiy Ahmed, Isaias is seen brutally massacring our people, vandalizing our infrastructure. His callous actions have stemmed from our government's TPLF/EPRDF staunch stand and rejection to let him, Isaias, tyrannically meddle, manipulate, and engage in acts akin to piracy within Ethiopia's politics and economy. So don't get surprised about the carnage unfolding in Tigray today. That is a powerful, just small excerpt from a speech that he gave. Is Ambassador Fissaha with us? Can anyone let me know?
Melita, he is having connection issues from Tigray. So okay. He will probably join us here in a little bit. Thank you.
Okay, not a problem. Thank you, Ambassador Fissaha. His words are seared in our minds. That was a powerful moment. I would like to bring up next Dr. Tekka. And Dr. Tekka, we would love just to get your reflections on the book. Obviously, you're featured here. I've personally worked with you on many different projects, and even most recently regarding supporting our wounded soldiers. And that's what's beautiful about this book. In case people don't know, the proceeds are going to benefit our soldiers. So Dr. Tekka, I would love to hear from you. And also if you can just touch on how this book will benefit our brothers and sisters who really, it was a people's army. They were forced to fight. It was go out and fight or stay home and die. And you know, the very brave brothers and sisters chose to fight for their freedom. And we appreciate that. And this book will help support them. So Dr. Tekka, I would love to hear your thoughts.
Thank you. بطعمي يخبركم بطعمي دس يبلني مزيوم أب 3 عامات بزح ججننت لرأخم دك عدي أو همز كفيلة لهلنا خاب بطعمي دس لبل كتزاروا historical خوين قرب بطعمي انجويل تجورو عوية قالسنا نوم عنتي أحوات دك تجراي همز تجاني ناكنوجا لسمع أن تحواس كلك عيخ إلي وسن يودي هو مجمرة SJT هم غير يومتيو تايو SJT أدليو SJT بونت كل رأيت الله مش شجر لتفترة organization نهيز بتجري شجر أداميسو لتفترة بلكعو بساعته لتفترة organization يو أبغندر باش حتى جارو تباررو تجارو بمننتهم تقتلوا تأثروا تجري زوريا ملاش تعتيا مشكات منجدي تجراوي أبلي واللجزية حزب تجري TPLF لا توهلا بقف عك الساقة كأثر قبلنا ورا اللجزية أو عالم للو دك تجري بتعمي كاني قوم حزينهم تعينا نقبر لهم قبل تجانا اللجزية SJT أب DMV توليدا تمسريتا بإجرا من قدي أبزي لحالخو أبدي أنفيل نورو دك تجراي كابل بكا مسجونو ميدالي أو يسرح يوم سارحهم أو ينشات فيهم واسيدهم كاو جن مجمرتا لوكالي نيرو SJT لوكال تخنتولو أو أمريكا أو كندا إنه خلو نجار إن سارح نيرنا جن بالعابة جن جلوبالي إتناي تجراي شجر بتعمل كومبليكيتد بتعمل شجر بالخوانا جن وإزي تكنولوجي اللي دك تجري أو عالم لنا وحادة تيبل مثلا كنرادا كنقرارب لنا بزعنت من قد زي بلدمي بلقصر بلصبصب بلرأي شجر رئينا بقو من قد نقومنا ريسبوند كنقبر لنا يلنا بعالم درجة جلوبالي تمسريتو SJT 3-4 ورحي لوسدو بايلو تاي كنسر حامل قبانا مناتهم تاي تقيمنا أنا SJT أفتي شجر أفتي كونفليكت سلتفترة أقدمنا تأيو مسرح لدلي تزجاجنا لينا مسينا باربعة نجار أدمينا كنسرحنا تزجاجنا مسينا SJT بادفوكاسي diplomacy petition and global and national protest بادفوكاسي diplomacy أبزي كزارب أيدلي مناتهم تمسحاب thanks to Dr. Gidey thanks to ناي SJT board members مرحتنا بتعمل بالتخاء لمن قدي بالرأى بالقصر بالصبصب من قد تمسحف كوفا بيلوم لو تاي هم تصحافه لابي هم تصحافه تاي إيشو نيرو لمن تأيو تصحفه لقلص أفت مسحف ببزحات مئتات القصر لبدابي تصل لو أفتنا advocacy diplomacy انت حالف هو تصبق مثلا مناتهم so already out كاو حالي بيقول أفتي petition مالت بتن 4 ينسي already ساب كوميتيتات أقوامه بتعمل عوي سرح تاتي لسرح نيرو أبناي HR 6600 أب 3199 initiative وسيدو petition أوتسيو يمانة أبزي ليكلو خلي يمانة حلفهم بسرعات مثل محفوظ تنكرر strong PR ينيرونا the same time strong advocacy group ينيرونا إن أبزي إتي initiative وسيلهم تي petition كونسوات لوجن بتعمي أبزي اللي داني اللي مكيك حجزنه كل يوم تأمر لخنا ود تجراي دك تجراي أو علم للو صريحهم اللي يوم نحن ولا نشت جورنايت تسرح لصار حجن دك تجراي يوم صريحهم بزعنة من قد عوينا international community attention catch لجبرة ببتشنون عوي للرأل وتصار لتصبصب صريحي initiative وسيلنا craft غيرنا وسينا public أبهزبي أكفافيلنا يهنا global and national protest بتعمي لقرب أمونا ينفعلت أمو network ليبلنا أمو communication ليبلنا أفتلنا ورا نايتقراي هم قصل هزبنا كرقفت الله تجزيه هم يقرنا هم تفعلتنا ون بتعمي لقرمنا مناتهم نايسب connection نايسب information دحر ليبلها تجاني خات توقعون بتعمي خابديو جن أبزي SJT تأيو أغدي موجن اتمسارحي نجارات أغميتو سلالنا ورا عوية محاور عوية نتورك ونسل النورة أبزي بتعمي يلقر مني اللي أبزي سم سوات كصوع عند حرقينه ناي خلو سب كصوع 3-4 مسحفونا يا أخلي تقرأ ناي بحكي سريحو كل اللي خلو كنتربت غيره لهزب تقرأي فويس خوينو عقم لخونا له دياسبورا يدلو عوية خبر لنا بدياسبورا جينا بلزي للخم بملخم اللي ملئته لليتي ان والتا كاب سويز يوهانس غوشو كاب كندا سناي كاب انجلاند سولومون تكلا هيمانوت كاب يوروب داويد كابيروب سمهال روبيكا أستراليا فديلا ميكي تيغراي داني دنفر سنت سمهال تكلا برهان إفرام سايبر no matter what خندينا يسأقامي هاللوو اندا زورو ولا ناي سكيجوال ناي قلملا ناي سرحو سأقر تليوهم اندا فلاي لا قبرو أب خلو ستيتات بارسبيت القورو ميكي تيغراي داني دالاس سايبر بافتهم ريكوغنايز كقبر لهم للرئاسة رح لصور حسابات أحواتنا أيوم of course فرزقي مسفن اللي يذكر غام حلاف كابي سون صبقي غنينا جنت أنا غيرنا SJT محاور نتورك سلال نمرنا 84 ناي global protest organizers غيرنا بسلاماوي سلف كمتسطلاتي نركب نيرنا مالتيو يتشجر SJT closely مسناي تيغراي شجر سلال كاتاتل سلال نبرة بتعمل dangerous necessary نجار كمتسطلو بسلسته معلتي باربعة معلتي ناي عالم سلاماوي سلف نصوح اللي جزينا يرئيو تشجر تايو SJT أقدم خماي نجارهم ناي لمن تايخل تسومن سلسته سومن أي تنقر ناي إذا complain نيرئيو جن إتنا عدنا شجر جن أحواتنا هم قصل لا رجفو أحواتنا بزم لي ربحوا لا تدفرا مرتنا لا تقرص لا توسده منم discussion منم communication ليد ليو جزيون فرصي جبرنا نيرئيو تايجن نسمع معنيرنا أوجن سوم لو مقبروا صباح نجبر يوروب دحر غلطة معلتي جبروا إنجلاند دحر حدا معلتي جبروا سويسرلاند أن إسرائيل دحر سلسته معلتي جبروا جن تاسومن جن ناي تيغراي دمس نحلف الله ناي تيغراي سومن يعني رامالتي إذا نحلفهم ملقتي يونيفورميو كوميونيكيتينا نجبر بدن بينا نرادلا شجرنا يروّدوا بس شجرنا شجر ليود شكوني يعني إحنا منهم experience ليبلنا منهم هم غير خا تيغراواي هم لسرحون لين فلطلو عاوي عدا يقاطي منا بزعانه منقد ليليتسي باينا غزي نحنا تلفزيون وصحنا تصوت الرئيه يفلطي جن اقاطام جن جامباله تعطيقا اب تلفزيون الوصات I'm so proud of her تيغراواي ليغورنا ነገር የለ አብድና ይሉ ምድ ሓለፈ ዶም ዘመን ሃሙል ክንገብር ገነላኻ ሽግራ ይጋጠመና ማለት አይሆን አቅድመና ጠጠው ይሎም ከይን ሰርሕ ልጎብሩና አነ ለይገበርኽዎ አነ እንሸት ለይገበርኽዎ አነ ለይወልኽኩም ልብለና ሰብ አይሳአናይ ማለት አይሆነይ ግን ቲ ማጆሪቲ ደቅ ትግራይ ግን ጀጋን ወሐለታት ልኾኑ ግን ናይ ወዓሎም ኢንተረስት አው ጅቦኦም ገይሮም ናይ ህዝቢ ትግራይ አቀዲሞም አይዞኹም ለወልና እስካዕ መጨረሻ ተቃለሱ ደቅ ትግራይ ግን አነ በህይወተይ ክርስዖም አይኽእሊ እና ናይ SJT advocacy letters ይጽሕፉልና ስሎጋንስ ኩሎም ደቂ ትግራይ ኮንትሪቢዩት ይገብሩ የማነ ብዚ ልድ ወሲዱ ብዙሕ ኮንትሪቢዩት ይገብር ነይሩ ካው እንደገና አቢ አቡሙላን ለተጋራ ሰላማዊ ሰልፊ ፍላየር ለገበረትልና እስታያ በእግረ መንገድ ከመስገንኩም ከሐልፍ አይደሊ SJT ግን ናይ ህዝብ ትግራይ ናይ ዳያስፖራ ጥርት ከመሆነ ሓሊፉ ኣብ ዳያስፖራ ፍሎር ኻፊቱ ኣብ ዓለም ለለና ደቂ ትግራይ ኣብ ሓደ ቴብል ኣምሲኡ እንታይ ንግበር ትግራይ ኢሉ ከማኸር ልኽእል ዓቕሚ ለለዎ ኔትወርክ ለለዎ ማሕውር ለለዎ ኦርጋናይዜሽን እዩ ሃምዚ ዓብዪ ገኣንስ ብደይ ኢዲ እግሪ ኮፍ ኢሉ ክሰርሕ ለይኽእል ኣይኮነ ኦርጋናይዜሽን ኮምፕሮማይዝ ገይሩ ኣብ ዲስከሽን ክመፅእ ተሎ ኩሉ ኦርጋናይዜሽን ለሚኑ ንዑ ደኣ ትግራይ ትጠልቕ ኣላ ትግራይ ትሽገር ኣላ ኢሉ ለሚኑ ኣተሓባቢሩ ክሰርሕ ልኽእል ላሰርሐ ልግነ ኦርጋናይዜሽን እዩ ሃምዚ ኢሉ ግን ኣብዚ ኸዚ ግዜ እዚ መጀመርያ ልቲ ናይ SJT advocacy group ብጣዕሚ ኣቱም ሰባት ሃምዚ ዶክተር ግደይ ልበሎ ቢሃይንድ ዘ ሲን ክፍለጡ ለይደልዩ ኣነ ገይረ ለይብሉ ኣቴንሽን ለይደልዩ 24/7 ደብዳቤ ልጽሕፉ ብሶምን 7 ደብዳቤ ብሓደ ሶምን ሓደ ግዜ ደብዳቤ ንጽሕፈሉ ግዜ በጽሕና ኣለና ኸዚ ብጣዕሚ ስለልደኸምና ብጣዕሚ ስለልሸገረና ናይ ትግራይ ሽግር ዓብዪ ስለልኾነ day and night ልሰርሑ ናይ advocacy ናይ SJT እንደገና ናይ SJT PR እንደና ናይ SJT board members እዚ መጽሓፍ ዝቆፁ ምስ ገንዘቦም ምስ ጉልበቶም እዮም ምስ ኢንፎርሜሽን እዮም ኮንትሪቢዩት ገይሮም ካው ሓሊፉ ግን እዚ ብሙሉ ዳያስፖራ ንሕና ኮኦርዲኔተር ኣንግበር ዳ SJT እዚ ስራሕ ዝግና ይትኹም ናይ ዳያስፖራ እዩ ናይ ህዝቢ ትግራይ እዩ ብሙሉኡ ኣብ ዳያስፖራ ደሎ ትግራዋይ ሃሪሱ ላይ ሓደረሉ ልትጨነቀሉ ልትቃንዘየሉ ልገልጽ መጽሐፍ እዩ እዚ እንደገና ግዚኡ ወሲዱ ፋሚሊኡ ሳክሪፋይስ ገይሩ حاوي دكتور جدي the same profession اللي له مساي I know اتنصرح اسرح critical thinking required لقبري إن إذا نقدر sacrifice غيره إذا ما تحب لسرحنا يسرح comply غيره أب حادث اللي لمسنا دقمه كاب لبي كمسكنا كايدلي دكتور جدي ما تحب تصحيف الله نايمن تاريخ يوز ما تحب زي إذا لتجراي كدحنو هم قصل رقيفهم أكلم لقودلو لك تجراي لصنحوا لنا ما أنت بأكلنا وقع لقورنا دك عدنا يوم ناتهم تاريخنا نسحف لنا إذا حزب تجراي ما أقروا عدنيني ولا يفلت نبعتكم أصقص لنبوع اللي جزيل مرت جقنا النت مريضو لحزب تجراي لدحن ما أنت حزب تجراي مسدقكم مسبته سوي لسوا ناتو تاريخنا نزار إذا ما تحفزي نا دياسبورا أبزو توليدهم ቋንቋ ትግራይ ወንጫማ ይሰትዮም ላለ ይፈልጡ ትግራይ ካብ ሁሉ ለላዕሊ ዴይ ኤንድ ናይት መኪናኦም እንዳሸጡ ገዝኦም እንዳሸጡ ክሬዲት ካርድ እንዳሸጡ ለትግራይ ልሕግዙ ለህዝብ ትግራይ አይዞኻሉሉ ተአምር ላይ ተሰሪሑ ላይ ይፈልጥ አድቮኬሲ አርቲኩሌት ለገወሮ ደቂ ትግራይ ናቶም ታሪክና ንፈ እዚ መጽሐፍ ዚ ኣብ መጨረሻ ለመን እዩ ለቶም ለትግራይ ከድሕኑ لحنا كدحنو أبز عالم قيوم ليودو اقرام تقرط رئيهم ليساكو عينهم لحاورو نايو علوم هيو تحريقهم لهزب تقراي لمرتو لا أتاتو هناك نردقف I'm sorry a little bit emotionally زي ما تحفزك شيط اللو قنزب كوتس اللو زوم حواناتهم سونتهم سكع القصل أو ومبر يوم كوفي لهم لو عندلو لنكاسا قصلو ومبر لنكاسا قصلو إجري للزارو اللي سمع له تكنولوجيا كعتو جنزب كن حجزهم لنا هزون إذا ما تحفزت شيءتو 100% لحزب تجراي لحواتنا دياسبورا لحجز encourage لجبر لدياسبورا دمو انقع جبرنا يلمن 20 years from now regret لجبر حاوي سرحنا أتم سوات أبزي دكتور جدي SJT بطعم وسنيو بتلي أبز خزمت إننا دلو معات حدناتنا دخيمو كلنا بحد خوينا لين صار حلو جزء كلنا قر كومبليت غيرنا كنا قرب أين خلي نال باش سمكم منشن دحر ريخوان حد الشجر ندحل دي رأيكم it's okay volume 2 كما تسيو كومبليت خويني كتصحفيو محبراتو منصحفو كابزي الحش كابزي بالحاشة من قد ارتكوليت غيرهم انصوه السجيلنا نقبل نشطو نهزب تجراي نقلقل كاو حالف እንደገና بسنك ህዝብ ትግራይ ተጠቂምና ነው ጾደለና ገንዘብ ፕሊዝ ለህዝብ ትግራይ መልስና ንሃቦ እዚያ ክብል ደሊ በጣም ክብረት ያበለይ ሓበኒ ስምዓኒ በጣም የልሕጎስ መሳኻትሞ علينا ማዓንቲ thank you so much መልእክቲ ሓፍተይ ክብረት ያበለይ
Wow, Dr. Thaka, thank you so much. I wish I had Tigrinya but I wish I could describe it the way that you just did. Thank you so much for your words. What keeps coming up for me is the strength of Tagaru. Whether you're here in the diaspora or you're home in Tigray, the way everyone came together for a common cause, and there was no other option. So thank you for articulating that, and we will continue. We will continue to support our families. That's the whole reason we got into it. You're not alone in your emotion. We all feel that same emotion. So thank you so much, Dr. Thaka. You're a true hero, and we really appreciate you and everything that you've done and sacrificed for us, for all of us. I'm going to take a little bit of a shift at this point, if that's okay with you all, and I'm going to bring in some allies. What was a struggle for the people of Tigray and for us in the diaspora was that we are few in numbers. We know that. And even though we organized, and my dad used to say, and that's what we did as Tagaro. One person was the equivalent of 1,000 of those who were trying to oppress and destroy and annihilate the people of Tigray. And that's how we all came together. And that's why we were successful. However, we had friends, and we needed those friends. And some of those friends are here with us today. And so I'm going to bring in Russell right now. And I believe Russell was involved in several actions in Dallas and also I think in DC for one of the national protests. So I'd like to introduce to you all one of the many, many allies that we built over this time, and just hear a few words from him. So Russell, I'll pass the mic to you.
Thank you. I want to say peace to Tigray and man, Danny from Dallas got me the book, and I was like amazed at like a large compilation of information that was given, and I think that right there is going to be a great tool in getting the word out, because it's something that you can physically hold, and also an inspiration that when you're networking, that's one of my biggest things. I'm always telling people, it's great to consolidate within your culture and your community, but when you have a chance in the outside world, is to share the stories with people outside the culture, because people help who they like, right? And they like you if they know you. So now that we have this resource, we can, like when you're having casual conversation, he's like, hey, I remember I was telling you about this, and I wanted to share with you because we really would like to have you as an ally, because, I love you, we're cool friends and all that, but you don't know what's going on. So I want to share that with you. So I think this is going to be a great resource for getting the word out, explaining the truth, but also raising money for the wounded warriors. And I really appreciate that, because I'm a veteran myself. I have a lot of veteran friends, here in Dallas. And without the support of people who love the veterans, we would be lost. So I think this is a really good thing that you guys are doing.
Russell, can you tell us a little bit about how you were brought into this, and also, did you know anything about Tigray before this? Did you have friends from the area? Because you really took this on as a person. You took it personal, and you really joined forces with the people of Tigray, and you were present, and it wasn't just, sometimes we share stories with people and certainly you get empathy, but you actually turned that into action. What made you decide that it was something you had to take on in the way that you did?
Well, in the beginning, in the early 90s, I used to go to Brookhaven Community College in Farmers Branch, which is just outside of Dallas. And one of the most beautiful communities that kind of like welcomed me in, because I'm kind of like an outsider, So when I was at the college, I always hung out with, as I would call them, Ethiopians, because I didn't know about Tigray at the time. And when I was there, a lot of times, even if I didn't have no money to eat, my homeboy, Danny and his family, the Hedera family, would feed me, and always showed me so much love and kindness, and that's what I'm saying. You help people who you like, and I love that family. So that was in the early 90s. And then I'd say at the beginning of the Tigray War in 2020, Danny and I reconnected, because we had, I've had some struggles in my life. So when this happened, Danny reached out to me, and I broke down, man, because, that to me, Tigrayans, now that I know, it's kind of like Texas in America, I love them, right? And my guy Danny's like, he has family members that have died. And, that really got to me. And I was like, to me, those that don't take action are almost as bad as the ones that's committing the genocide. So that's why I jumped in. I don't care if I'm not Tigrayan, what I'm trying to say is an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. So if we don't jump up and say something now, what happens when we need help? Who are we going to call? So that's why I got involved. We did some marches in Dallas. I think we did 2 or 3, and then Danny was like, "Look, there's going to be a 2-year marker in DC about the war," and I said, "I'm there." I got my camera. He said, "Man, I want you to speak," and I was like, "Okay, cool beans. I have no problem doing that." And I got love out there in DC as well, and it was like incredible when we shut down the bridge. That right there between Virginia and DC, shutting down that bridge was like, that's going to be legendary. That's history right there. So that's why I joined in. Also, I joined righteous movements. You know what I'm saying? If you are righteous in your movement, I'm going to be there for you. That's how God leads me, and that's what I'm going to be. So that's that's why I joined in with Danny and the rest of SJT, because I want Tigray is her. I want that to be real. So that's all for me, I guess. I mean,
Thank you.
I just want to support.
Thank you so much, Russell. Tigray تسعر, you got it. You're right. I just want to thank you for joining us today, and thank you for your heart. It really touched me when you spoke about Danny and his family, and just everything you said about them. It's just the spirit and the heart of Tagaro, and that's why it was impossible for us to believe, especially us in the diaspora, when the stories were being told, starting with Mike Kadra. The government kept making up information to try and convince people that, that essentially to dehumanize Tigrayans and make everything okay. That was happening because there was no other way to do it. But what you shared about Danny is very much the heart and the spirit of Tigray. So thank you for helping us get out of our echo chamber. That was something we kept saying over and over again. We have to get out of our echo chamber. We don't need to convince ourselves. We need the letters in English, which is what SJT was doing. We needed the stories in English, which is why I joined Tigray Media House. And, we all came together. And so we just thank you so much for your involvement in helping to end the genocide in Tigray. So thank you so much, Russell.
Thank you.
And so I'm not sure if Captain Eritrea was able to join us.
Yes.
Can someone give me a?
Yes.
Oh, amazing. So I'm really, really honored actually to bring my brother up. Captain Eritrea is someone who you all know, I'm sure. He's been involved in so many different protests around the country because it was the right thing to do. And because he understands that our liberation is intertwined. We were angry. And as a matter of fact, I'm still angry. Many of us are working through that anger in terms of how the Eritrean government and Eritrean people, probably by force, were involved in what happened in Tigray. There's still a lot of hurt there, but it was people like Captain Eritrea who were able to, cross lines and say, wait a minute, we're brothers and sisters. Wait a minute, I share in that struggle. Wait a minute, this is not okay. I don't care, if it's Tagaro. And by the way, my people too. And so what Captain Eritrea did is not a small thing. And so if Captain Eritrea is still in the room, I would love to bring him on screen at this time to share a few words about his involvement and in ending the war in Tigray and standing up for his people as well.
Militafte, he just dropped us for a second because he was having technical issues, but he's going to sign right back in there.
Okay.
Say a few things words if you like.
Not a problem. I can stall for you all. But I will say, even personally, the first time I met with Captain Eritrea, we were in, I want to say it was in Northern California at one of the protests. And I just remember him coming up and starting that conversation with me. And it meant a lot. It meant a lot because I was mad, and my family is from Ramah, the northern part of Tigray, right on the border. One of the first, when the soldiers crossed over, one of the first hit. And so I had a very personal, very, very personal, I don't know if grudge is the right word, but it was because of people like him, that softened that relationship. So if he's not back in the room yet, not quite yet.
No, unfortunately, he has not walked back in
That's
yet.
okay. There were many allies in helping us, and I think that was probably one of the biggest lessons that we learned too, was how do we reach out? How do we involve, other organizations in the work that we're doing? There's an organization that I was involved with, that you probably know of, Tigray Action Committee, but they did a good job of connecting us with various Jewish organizations that were able to speak about the genocide as well, and share their platform and connect us with lawmakers and legislators. That was a big part of the way that we were able to connect. And so just really grateful for all of the allies who came together and were able to support us. If he needs another minute, I can certainly jump to, I see Michael Berge is on the call, and
Yes, please.
even though that's the next segment, which was gonna move, which I know, Danny, you were gonna take over, but that's my brother. I would love to just have a minute to speak with him about his incredible work. Shall I do that? And we bring Captain Eritrea later?
Yes,
awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, so Michael, get ready to unmute, but I would love to talk to you. So to me, when I first got the book, I jumped to the individual stories, and probably because that's what I do. I'm a storyteller, and I love learning about people's stories. And your work, especially related to the arts, in fighting and combating and telling the story in different ways, right? It can't all be written in a book. It can't all be maybe a TV show. There's different ways to tell this story, and I think you have a unique contribution, and obviously there were many people with you, but Michael, I would love to give you the floor for a moment just to share a few words about your advocacy and your work.
Thank you, Melita, Brhana Mescal, and I get it right, I believe. Well, I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, and when the Tigray War had happened, I mean, we immediately, I remember maybe within few days, we went out to Boston Government Center, where the City Hall and the federal buildings and also the state capitol is. And I do remember immediately within few days that we started, action all of a sudden. It was just a call over the our perhaps social media, texting kind of groupings. And we went out there, and we don't even know how to shout. We don't even know how to articulate our messages. It was just, something out there. So we started with that. And in Boston, Massachusetts is definitely where most of the Tigrayans are residing, but in our surrounding, the New England states, we have states such as Vermont, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Maine, Connecticut, and of course Massachusetts. So what we did in New England is basically that we started to branch out. We started to travel to the other states, and started our struggles in there too. In all of that, there comes Marhawi. Marhawi is someone who is, who is very much artistic and very much a storyteller, narrator, and also, he is good at with his, videography and things like that. So he narrated a story. We wanted to tell our story. Basically, there were so many bits and pieces of informations coming out in every media outlets, and he gathered quite a bit of stories from there, and some also needed some imagination in order to enhance the story even better. So I got a story as someone who would be acting in that story. And when we were making these videos, the very first video that came out was Stop the Tigray Genocide video. And it was about the Aksum massacre. And I so happened to be playing as a priest, some priest from Aksum. And little do I know, that story blew up later on. And honestly speaking, what had happened after that is just surreal. The Ethiopian government reacted so badly. I started to see my face all over the place. It was on the media. It's on Ethiopian media, the Ethiopian news agency, on the TV, on Walta and other outlets too. Bishops were commenting because I was playing as if I was a victim priest. But on the very story, in the very beginning of that video, there was the story, you know, the writing that says that this is a reenactment of what had happened. It really vividly says right there, and it should not have been mistaken, but I don't think they were mistaken at all. They blew it up out of proportion. They even wanted to sue me. They wanted to get me out of America back to Ethiopia so they would prosecute or persecute me, you name it. I mean, all that happened. I would take it as a badge of honor. All I would say is that justice is, a virtue in and of itself. And the people of Tigray, it's not like last time. I mean, the way the deluge that came upon me was amazing. It wasn't like last time. Now we have allies all over. The one that we just heard, Brother Russell, the one we're about to hear, Captain America, and in New England, people like Alison Cigar and Nunn, and everybody in Vermont and New Hampshire and everywhere, the BLM Coast and all other organizations that collaborated with us. And now the New Lines Institute has just come out that genocide had happened in Tigray. I think we've got the fire. We need to fight on. This particular book did tell our story very well, and it was kind of compiled in a way that it could be a wonderful reference book for future many books that could be written out of having it as a resource. And we need to fight on. And I really, really commend Dr. Gidey on what he wrote. And he also had another book by the name of A Tsunami of Lies Cannot, a tsunami of lies cannot hide the truth. That is a book that he had written in 2022, a year after the genocide had started. So we need to fight on. We need to do whatever is necessary. And justice is in our reach. It may be in few years, it may be in few decades, but we should not let in. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Michael. And we will never forget the Aksum Massacre reenactment. I mean, that was incredibly powerful. And you're right, the reaction that we got, certainly worldwide, but from the Ethiopian government. And they weren't upset and they were not unclear about this being a reenactment, but it was when you saw it visually, you know what I mean? And to think about what actually happened is, I think, what shamed them. There was a level of shame because they knew what they had done, but the story wasn't getting out. They had done everything they could to stop the story. And here you brought it to the screen. And that's why they were upset. And so it was incredibly powerful. And that's just, the power of art. That's what you all showed us. So thank you for your work. And you're right, justice will eventually get there. Justice will prevail. We know that for sure. So I hear that Captain Eritrea is back with us, and we're so grateful. And I don't know how much you heard of your introduction, Captain Eritrea, but I was just sharing the fact that you brought us a long way in starting to have a conversation and crossing lines and having dialogue, in spite of the role of Eritrea and the Eritrean government specifically, obviously, in Tigray. So thank you for being with us, and we would love to hear more from you about your advocacy around Tigray and why you did it, because we know that you've gotten a lot of heat for being righteous and for standing up and being on the right side of justice. But the floor is all yours, Captain Eritrea.
Thank you, Malete. Can you guys hear me? Good to go. Okay. Well, salam hwat kulahum, distinguished guests. How's everyone doing? The power team. In one session, amazing. I'm honored to be to come here and speak Danny Primo, my brother, as always. Maleta, you guys know. I stand with you guys always. Yeah, it was quite the journey. And that journey hasn't ended. As a young Eritrean, it is very, very difficult to navigate the politics, bipolar politics in the Horn of Africa. For example, I've never been to Ethiopia myself. But I know when someone looks like me, that's easy to tell, you know what I mean? Someone speaks like me, eats like me, dances like me. Well, somehow, some way, then we must be related, right? It's only logical. So it's not hard for an individual to say, hey, my cousin is suffering, you know, my brother is dying. Why can't I be a voice for them? Regardless, for me personally, I was kicked out of Eritrea anyway. So, I mean, at that point, what difference does it make, right? I don't subscribe to my villa of Adi causing me to portray myself as something that I'm not, right? I'm a humanitarian. You guys know I have a team called Team Freedom. And then now I'm part of the Blue Revolution and so on. And I don't believe in waiting for someone to lead you to do the right thing, right? I act immediately. And the reason why is because I have good parents. I have good parents that are loving. They taught me Tagarus are our brothers. I was never raised with hatred, me personally. So I don't really have the issues most Eritrean government supporters. I don't succumb to that ideology. Me personally, I personally don't support any government organizations, but I support the Tigrayans. I support Tagaru as the people, right? I want what's best for Tigrayans, politically, health-wise, everything. If I don't want what's best for Tagarus, then how can I want what's best for everyone else beyond that, right? If I get kicked out of Eritrea and I end up in Ethiopia, I can only go one place that speaks what I speak and will accept me and take care of me, like you guys have proven for Eritrean refugees, even during the conflict, when the government of Ethiopia and Eritrea was targeting the Eritrean refugees, they sought refuge in Tigray, right? Most Eritreans who leave Eritrea leave through Tigray. They drink the water of Tigray. Mama Tigray takes care of them. And then somehow, some way, they find themselves in a Western world and then become government supporters. So that in itself is hypocrisy. And me personally, I don't support that. But as far as the adventure and the journey with Tigrayans, which has not ended, to me, it will end when I see Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki in ICC. That's when it ends for me. Both, right? And then I also would like to see, everyone likes to argue that there's no genocide in Tigray. I would disagree. We saw what happened to Rwanda. What are the numbers in comparison, right? So if Tigray was targeted as a Khalil, right? It was targeted by how many government organizations? How many countries? And yet it withstood and it survived. They could not remove Tigray off the map. And that was the ultimate agenda. So not only does that show perseverance, honor, integrity, people, survivalists, people who survive regardless of what the outcome is. When all roads are blocked, Tigrayans survived. If the government of Tigray couldn't make the ends meet, TDF was created for the people, by the people. So where else would you see that? If you can match that historically, I'd be amazed. Many wars in the past were conducted through large government organizations or countries, right? Past and present. Organized, where an entire country was involved. But you have a Khalil that's taken on how many powers? Superpowers on top of that, right? So to me, Tigrayans, you have something to be proud of. Yes, you're mourning. Yes, you have lost many brothers and sisters. But historically, you have withstood and redefined what your forefathers have done in the past, whether it was from an Aksumite empire and kingdom to present day. Well, why wasn't the world concerned? Because they don't benefit. Same as you see in Israel, everyone's concerned. Ukraine, everyone's concerned. You can get Israel and Ukraine, combine them, or Gaza and combine them, and you still wouldn't meet what happened in Tigray. And yet there's no voice. There's no Western world voice other than our brothers and sisters that are here now supporting us, right? So the question is why? Could be the Red Sea, it could be Djibouti, the military bases there. It could be economics, it could be geopolitics, all these other things. But when men and women are dying and children are being butchered, it is our duty to be a voice for them, regardless of who they are, right? But for me, Tigray is special. Not only are you my neighbor, before Menelik created that line, you guys know the rest of that history, right? So to me, I and myself cannot hurt a Tigrayan, because then that would be like killing my cousin or unaliving my sister or brother. This is my personal view on how I see it. And it could be because I'm from the Tigrina Beher, right? Could be that too. I don't know. But I have a deep connection with Tigrayans. That's me. I am proud to be Eritrean because of what my fathers did. I am not proud of the Eritrean government at this moment. In fact, I think the entire Eritrean government needs to be removed from leadership because it's not a government. Am I still here? Okay. It's not a government. It's a bunch of thugs that took over Eritrea. They got funding, and they're conducting genocide and terror all across the map. My country has now become a business for convicts. That's what my country has become. In comparison to Tigray, you've always been free. So when someone came across into your land and tried to take away your freedom, you said, MB, right? MB, I told you, right? So we, the Blue Revolution, Eritreans, seeing how you moved, decided, MB, I told you. That's how the Blue Revolution was also initiated. You know, the rest of the history with John Black and everyone else. So we refuse to kneel, just like you guys. And we're going to weather it. The ultimate goal, create peace with Tigray, peace with Eritrea, remove the government of Eritrea, and then economically develop our countries in a peaceful manner where we surpass Dubai and everything else. We have the resources, we have the intelligence, we have everything we need. The Red Sea could be utilized as geopolitical ploy to conduct economic strategic benefits to Ethiopia and Eritrea, if you want to consider the whole map. And then we, as neighbors and brothers and sisters, can elevate to a different level. That is the ultimate goal. And I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. And if there's any other questions, I'm subject to your questions. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Captain Eritrea. Just one quick question, because I know we have to move on to the next moderator as well. This is probably my last question for this show, but one thing that I admire, first of all, I said this earlier too, is how you've helped people like me kind of soften to the story of Eritrea, because the truth is we neglected what was happening in Eritrea all of this time because it was on that side of the border. And so there's a level of, I think, responsibility that the world has too, in terms of neglecting what was happening in Eritrea to Eritrean people by an unelected leader all of this time. So there's something to say about that. But what's interesting with you is you go head to head and toe to toe with pretty powerful people and leaders who support the Eritrean government. And I'm curious, my question is, you do a lot of that, yes, because you believe in the truth and human rights, and how can you be on any other side of that conversation as it relates to Tigray? But it's also truly an advocacy for your people. It's an advocacy for people who have been ignored while they've been abused by a brutal dictator. And it's a challenging conversation here, even with, we grew up especially in the diaspora and where I'm from in Colorado, Tagaro and Eritreans, we all grew up together. And so it was a really interesting thing that happened where we lost a lot of friends in the process of this. And I don't know if it's guilt or Stockholm syndrome that makes them, say Isaias can do no wrong and maybe they deserved it. I don't know what it is, but I'm curious from your perspective about why you believe it's important to go head to head and toe to toe every chance you get in terms of speaking the truth related to what Isaias is doing in other parts of the world, or even specifically to your own people.
That's an excellent question. First, we have to understand this whole political move, hatred against Tigrayans, is the only way Eritreans can move, which is ridiculous, right? Why was that created? Because Isaias Afwerki feels threatened that if there's a unification with Tigrayans, that he would be removed within a day. He knows this. So most Eritreans grow up with the hatred of Tigrayans taught to them. Luckily for me, growing up in America, I don't experience that. And as well as you guys know, I just beat Higdef in a lawsuit. They took me to court. But if you read who was really suing me in court, it starts with the top. It starts from General Filipos sending messages to elitists that are here in America, millionaires, and then it trickles down from the embassy and so on to each city. So I know who's after me. And there's other things that they try to do to me that, I'm a soldier. I'm a survivor as well. I'm not going to say it here. Now, as far as why do I do it? I do it because I love my people and I love my neighbors, right? I do it because I feel like if there's a lie and my people are living a lie, it is my duty to clean up Eritrean mess, right? If I just sit and watch Eritreans do whatever they want because the government allows them to do it, then I'm a culprit as well. I'm just as guilty as well. So when they spew this hatred against Tagaru, you can be proud of whoever you want to be. That's not an issue. But in order to be a proud Eritrean, you shouldn't have to hate or disregard Tigrayans, right? That is the key issue right there. And then I feel like Higdef agenda and ideology is more geared towards hatred towards Tigrayans. And then the word TPLF is utilized in all aspects. It's like the boogeyman. But least they forget, when the freedom of Eritrea came about, it was EPLF and TPLF. It was good then. Now politics change. Now TPLF is the boogeyman. So, and it's just bipolar politics, but it's all derived and initiated just to ensure that there's a deep-rooted hatred for Tigrayans. And that's why during this genocide, if you pay close attention, which I'm very disappointed in the Western world for not holding them accountable, they made sure that no matter what the circumstances are, no matter what we do in the future, that we will never, ever be able to reconcile. But we saw through that. We have good Eritreans that say that's wrong, Tigrayans are our brothers, and we will not push that agenda, right? It's wrong. Murder's wrong, killing's wrong. And then, the rest with the Ethiopian government as well, their hand and role in this. But to end this, or lastly, what I want to say is there's a lot of Eritreans, especially the Blue Revolution, Brigade Nahamuru, that we will puff, huff and puff and say, Tigrayans are our brothers. We're Eritreans. Remove the dictator. No one can change that. There's a whole revolution created, and the youth is finally understanding Tigrayans are not the enemy. It's the Eritrean government, the president of Eritrea and everything that revolves around him that's causing the main issues. If we remove him, create a rule of law, then we could live in peace with Tigrayans and prosper together. Thank you, Millet Hafte.
Thank you so much, Captain Eritrea. It means a lot. Bipolar politics. I hadn't thought about that. Now that's in my vocabulary. So thank you for that. Advocacy is not always safe. In fact, it usually isn't. Especially we've seen that over and over again here in the diaspora. It comes at a personal cost. So thank you also for getting us out of our echo chamber again and bringing in reasonable people who understand that our liberation is truly intertwined. So thank you so much. And that is the end of my portion of the show today. So thank you all for having me. I'm going to pass the mic back to Danny, and thank you so much.
Militi Brahanen Meskar. Thank you so much. Sorry for miss saying your name, butchering your name, but appreciate that, Hafte. So we'll move to the next segment. But before we go to Miki, we have one segment that was left from Militi, so I will take over that, and then we'll go to Miki after that. So I am so glad Ambassador Fusaha joined us. Welcome, Ambassador Fusaha. I know you had connection issues from Tigray, but I'll give you about 5 minutes or so. Feel free, anybody here, to speak in Tigrinya. So if you can just give us your general perspective about the book, as well as the past 3 years' fight and advocacy, in terms of advocacy and diplomacy, we would appreciate it. Ambassador Fusaha, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Danny. Hi, everybody. Sorry I came late. I was at another Zoom. I attended a half hour and then I have to ask an apology.
Janet Jessica Caros.
Danny, if you don't mind, I really wanted to hear other brothers and sisters discuss, because I am coming late to the meeting. I don't know how you're setting the agenda, what is expected of me. And therefore, if you don't mind, I would rather hear other brothers and sisters, and then I will take my 2 minutes later. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Then I'll go to Professor Habta from Dallas, Texas. Professor Habta, you have been part of this advocacy diplomacy team and writing team with SJT, expert in economics. So your perspective, please, Professor Habta. Thank you.
Well, okay, thank you. My role with this group was very limited, so it will be an exaggeration if I was going to sell myself into this group as a person who participated in everything. But I think it's because of my trips out of the country. I was in and out. And sometimes I would just begin from zero while they were advancing. So, but let me just have a reflection of this group. SJT, I found them probably close to 15, 16 individuals actively participating day and night. This is also the time when genocide was at its highest stage. When people were executed, we were writing papers. It was very difficult. For those of you who write essays, research papers, you need a complete peace and a good environment to write. So given that situation, when you see these letters coming the next day, I give a big credit for people who contribute to this, event. I found them to be highly rational thinkers, fact-finding individuals, almost setting their emotions aside, being professionals when they were writing. So the outcome of this book, which is compiled by Dr. Gidey, is a good reflection of the reality I've seen. This book is going to be probably dissected into many parts going forward. The letters which you see are condensed, totally condensed, because we had to send it the next day and it has to be readable. And we know that our audiences, the global audience as readers, are becoming very limited in content. So we want to make sure that the messages are going to reach to the people who read it, who will have time to go over it. So there is it's an abstract of the letters, I would say. The letters themselves are the abstract of the whole message. They are not the whole story. But the letters were written for two things. One is to reflect on what was going on. The other is to convince the world to be with us. Even if they were adversary to us, we really were appealing to them. So if you look at the content of the letter, they are mild. We could have been really angry and write angry words. We refrained ourselves from doing so. Why? We were trying to bring, in fact, the United Nations leaders, the American leaders, European leaders, even people who do not look like us or who do not wish us good things about us during this dark time. We were trying to convince them, in fact, to come to our side. Naive? Were we naive when we tried to do so? Maybe. But is letter writing has to be inclusive? Yes, it has to be inclusive. So, of course, I wouldn't leave this thing without thanking specific groups of people who were just key players. Here we have Dr. Gidey, of course, as a person who took his time to write all these things and put two events, the letter writing as well as the demonstration, compiling together to make a book. It's an effort, correct? 2 stories, 2 things, making them readable, compatible, correct? So from a research point of view, I think he did a good job. But without Dr. Teka, I think the group would have been completely, I would say, destroyed within 2 meetings or 3 meetings, because when you have 16 people talking about issues, you will have 1,600, approach. But Dr. Gidey had the patience to do all these things. And of course, Dr. Teka is a person who taught us how to be civil, how to be, nice to each other. Without insulting each other, we could in fact forward ideas which matter. I want you to reflect on the papers when we talk about, for example, why America should be involved in our essay, in our region, in Tigray. We're looking into the future. If you look at the content of the letters, they are still valid. They will be valid for the next 50 years. So when we were writing, we were not trying to appeal only to what is to be solved today, but we were talking about strategically what Tigray means to Ethiopia, what Tigray means to the region in general. We anticipated if Eritrea was not going to be targeted, the government of Eritrea was not to be targeted immediately, it will create a lot of problems. In the letter which you are going to see, we talk about problems such as the Russian interest will come in the future. We were right in predicting it. Eritrea will play an ugly role. It's going to disrupt the whole region. It was a real, prediction. Look what happened to Sudan. Look what's happening, in fact, to the relationship between Ethiopia and Djibouti. Look what's happening, even the relationship between Kenya and Ethiopia. Of course, not talking even Somalia. So the mess could have been corrected, and we pointed it in the letters. So when we were writing, we were not only talking about what was going on in Tigray, we were talking about what will happen in the whole horn. So hopefully, going forward, those letters will be expanded. There will be multiple manuscripts which will come out of them. And I think Dr. Gidey will be the guardian of these ideas going forward. You are burdened with all these things, inviting, in fact, some individuals to come to you and co-authors, and this time expanded and also, research-based, where you're going to have also adding references, to support your ideas. That's what I would say. I guess in general, we are in a better situation because of these letters. There is a lot of Europeans were preoccupied when we were writing letters. America was preoccupied with its own politics when we were writing. So now is the time when reflections will sink in, and I'm hopeful that the world is looking into Tigray seriously, and we have to continue to write letters. And I promise I will stay, with you guys, and then I hope I contribute something in the future. What I would say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Hafta. We appreciate your contribution. I'm going to go to Alula. Alula, Hawaii, feel free, English, Tigrinya, whichever one you prefer. Your perspective, as well as your reflection as well about the last 3 years, and why would people should buy this book. Thank you, Alula, Hawaii.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you, SJT. I think I would like to speak in both languages because we have friends and allies of Tigray here. I would like to express my appreciation to them too. They've been with alongside our, organizations, organizing protests, writing letters, doing advocacy, and then showing their solidarity to our people back home. So we are very grateful you guys are here, and you are also showing interest and expressing your promise to continue with us in this struggle. So thank you. ዝኸበልኩን ኣብ ትግርኛ ክቕፅል ንዓቶም ኣድሬስ ምግባር እዩ ክልተ ነገር ክዛረብ ይደሊ ብዛዕባ SJT እነን ብዛዕባ እዚ መፅሓፍ ማለት እዩ SJT ዓብይ ኣኽብሮት ኣለኒ ነዚ ማሕበር እዚ ማለት እዩ ምስ ትካልና ትግራይ ሚድያ ሃውስ እውን ንነዊሕ እዋን ሰሪሖም ኢኹም እቲ ትሰርሕዎ ስራሕቲ ኣብ ሚድያ ምቕራብ ጥራሕ ኣይኮነን ነቲ ሚድያ እውን ሓጊዝኩምዎ ኢኹም ፋይናንሻሊ ትሕግዝዎ ነርኩም ሞራሊ ኩሉ ግዜ ጎንና ኮይንኩም TMH ብጣዕሚ ኣጠናኺርኩም ኢኹም ትግራይ ሚድያ ሃውስ ንክጠናኸር ዝገበርኩምዎ ፃዕሪ ብጣዕሚ የመስግን ሕዚ እውን ብሓባር ምስ ትካል ክትቅፅሉ ኢንፋክት እዚ መደብ እዚ እውን ክሓልፍ ይስራሕ ኣሎ ሬከርድ እውን ይግበረሉ የርኢ ኣለኹ ሳተላይት እውን ይድይብ ስለ ዘሎ TMH ብሳተላይት እውን ናብ ዓዲ ዘሎ ህዝብና ክበፅሕ እዩ ማለት እዩ ዝተዛረብዎ ዘለኹም ሎማዓንቲ ካሊእ SJT ንዝኾነ ይኹን ፅዕንቶ ዘይምብርከኽ ምዃኑ ክምስክር ይደሊ እዚ ክብል ከለኹ እንታይ ማለት እዩ SJT ዘቕርቦ ዝገልፆ ሓሳብ ናይቲ ማሕበር ናይቲ ትካል እምነት መሰረት ገይሩ ዝኾነ ይኹን እዚ በል ዘይትበል እዚ ኣቕርብ ዘይተቕርብ ስለ ዝተባሃለ ከይኮነስ ከም ማሕበር ኢንፋክት ሽሙ እውን ናይ ተጋሩ ድሕንነትን ፍትሕን ስለ ዝኾነ ፍትሓዊ ምዃን ካብ ገዛ እዩ ዝጅምር ንፍትሒ ንዓለም ንኽትሓትት ፍትሒ ንኽተምፅእ ድሕንነት ናይ ትግራዋይ ከዓ ካብ ሕድሕድ ትግራዋይ እዩ ዝጅምር እሞ በዚ እምነትኩም እዚ ፀኒዕኹም ብምኻድኩም ብጣዕሚ ከድንቐኩም ይፈቱ ነመራርሓ እውን ስፔሲፊክሊ ብፍላይ ዶክተር ተካ ኣብዚ ማሕበር እዚ ኩሉ ትግራዋይ ክቐርብ ብጣዕሚ እዩ ዝስዕር ኩለኹም ኣመራርሓ ይመስግን ግን ናቱ ብፍሉይ ክምስክር ዝደለኹ ብጣዕሚ ብዙሕ ግዜ ወሲዱ ንሰባት ክረክብ ከዘራርብ ብጣዕሚ እዩ ዝስዕር ስለዚ ኣብቲ ቅድም ኢሉ ዝነበረሉ እዋን እውን ፕሬዚዳንት ስለ ዝነበረ ብዙሕ ሰሪሕና ኢና ሓቢርና ኩለኹም ኣመራርሓ ብጣዕሚ ከመስግነኩም SJT ዘኹርዕ ማሕበር እዩ ከምኡ ኮይኑ ቅፅል እውን ኣለዎ እዚ መፅሓፍ እዚ ብምፅሓፍኩም እውን እንኳዕ ናብ ዘብቃዕኩም ዶክተር ግደይ ንዚ መፅሓፍ እዚ ኣብ ምድላው ለይትን ቀትርን ሰሪሕካ ዝገበርካዮ ፃዕሪ ዓብይ ስራሕ እዩ ብጣዕሚ ክትምስገን ይግባእ ንቐፃሊ እውን ከምዚኦም ዓይነት ስራሕቲ ከም ትቕፅል ሙሉእ እምነት ኣለኒ ምስ ሙሉእ ናይ SJT ኮነ ኣብቲ መፅሓፍ ተሳተፉ ቲም ማለት እዩ ንቐፃሊ ብፍላይ እዚ መፅሓፍ እዚ ከም ሬፈረንስ ኮይኑ ከገልግል ይኽእል እዩ ዝብል እምነት ኣለኒ ቃልሲ ዲፕሎማሲ ኣድቮኬሲ ናይ ወፃእ ናይ ዳያስፖራ ቃልሲ ከመይ ነይሩ ዝብል ክገልፅ ይኽእል ብሓደ ገፅ ኣብ ትግራይ ዝተፈፀሙ ነገራት ከዓ እንታይ እዮም ኢሉ መፅናዕቲ ከካይድ ዝደሊ ሰብ ከም ሬፈረንስ ኮይኑ ከገልግል ይኽእል እዩ ቢካዝ ብጣዕሚ ውስንነት ኣሎ ብፍላይ ብእንግሊዝኛ ዝተፃሓፈ ብምዃኑ ብእንግሊዝኛ ተፃሓፉ እሞ ብባዕልና ብናይ ትግራይ ሰብ ውስናት እየን ተን መፅሓፍቲ ስለዚ ናብኡ ናፍቲ ቦታ ንሱ ተፀንቢሮ ኣሎ እዚ መፅሓፍ እዚ ኣብ ልዕሊኡ ዝርከቦ እቶት ንጉዳኣት ኣካል መደገፍ ሙሉ ብምሉእ 100% ዝውዕል ምዃኑ ብጣዕሚ SJT ብሓቂ እቲ መፅሓፍ እውን ዝፀሓፍኩም ባዕልቱ መፅሓፍ እውን ብሓቂ ዝተቐደሰ ተግባር እዩ ምባል ይከኣል ኩሉ ትግራዋይ ኣብ ገዝኡ ከቕምጦ ኣለዎ ኩሉ ክገዝኦ ኣለዎ ማለት እዩ ሓደ እቲ መፅሓፍ ከም ዶክመንት ክግልገለሉ ንቐፃሊ ንምርምርን መፅናዕትን ዘድልዩ ከዓ ሪፈረንስ ኮይኑ ክጥቀመሉ ናብ ጀነሬሽን ከዓ ከሕልፎ ካብኡ ከዓ ንጉዳኣት ኣካል ናይ ትግራይ ቬተራንስ ደገፍ ኮንትሪቢዩት ዝገብረሉ ዘሎ ምዃኑ ብዙሕ ጥቕሚ ኣለዎ ንምባል ደልየ ምስ SJT ዘለኒ ተዘክሮ መጀመርያ ክምስረት ከሎ ይዝክር ነይረ ናይ ኣድቮኬሲን ዲፕሎማሲን ስራሕ ዝሰርሕ ጠንካራ ማሕበር የድልየና ነይሩ ዶክተር ተካ ስቴፕ ኣፕ ገይሩ ኣብዚ ጉዳይ እዚ ኣኼባ ተፀዊዑ ኣብ ዋሽንግተን ዲሲ ይዝክር እዚ ማሕበር እዚ ክምስረት ዝብል ምንቅስቃስ ቅድምቲ ኩናት ማለት እዩ ከም ትፈልጥዎ ናብ ልዕሊ ተጋሩ ዝካየድ ጥቕዓት ነይሩ ኣብ ዝተፈላለዩ ክልላት ካብ ትግራይ ወፃኢ ዘሎ ትግራዋይ ኢቨን ኣብ ትግራይ ዘሎ ጥቕዓት እውን ዘይፍትሓዊ ነገር ኣብ ኩሉ ኢና ክንፅየፎ ዘለና ኣብ ትግራይ እውን ዝፍፀም ነገራት ልክዕ ዘይኮን ነገራት ልክዕ ኣይኮነን ክብል ከም ዘለዎ ተሓሲቡ ዝተጣየሸ ማሕበር እዩ ኣብዚ ዝሓለፈ ኩናት ናይ ትግራይ ከዓ ዓብይ ስራሕ ዝሰርሐ እዩ ኢንዲፐንደንስ እዩ ሓልዩ ክኸይድ ይደሊ ኣብ SJT ከዓ እታ ዓባይ ኮንሰፕት እታ ጀይ ዝሓዘት እያ ጀስቲስ እያ ናይ ጀስቲስ ጉዳይ ናይ ትግራይ ሕዚ ፅቡቅ ምልዕዓል ምንቕቃሕ ይፍጠረሉ ኢለ ይኣምን እንደ SJT እውን ኣብዚ ስቴፕ ኣፕ ይገብር ኣሎ መድረኻት የዳሉ ኣሎ ብቐፃሊ እዚ ናይ ፍትሒ ጉዳይ ንህዝቢ ትግራይ ፍትሒ ክሳብ ዝረክብ ቃልሱ ኣጠንኪሩ ክቕፅል ኣለዎ ንዳያስፖራ ትግራይ መርኣያ ኮይኑ ከንቀሳቀሱ ኣለዎ ካልኦት ማሕበራት እውን ኣብ ጎኑ ክስለፉ ከበረታትዕዎ ውልቀ ሰባት እውን ከበረታትዕዎ ዕንቅፋት ከይኮነስ ድጋፍ ክኾንዎ ክሕግዙ እውን ፃውዒት ክቐርብ ይደሊ ናይ ፍትሒ ጉዳይ ክልተ ነገር እዩ ሓደ ህዝቢ ትግራይ ፍትሒ እንድሕር ረኺቡ ዓብይ ደበስ እዩ ንዝተፈፀሞ በደል ኢለ ዝኣምን ኣነ ካብኡ ከዓ ጀኖሳይድ ደጋጊሙ ዝመፀካ ናይ ፍትሒ ነገር እንድሕር ዘይሃልዩ ተሓታትነት እንድሕር ዘይሃልዩ እንደገና መመሊሱ እዩ ዝመፅእ ትሪእዎ ኣለኹም ሎሚ ቀነ እንደገና ተመሊስና ኣቑሲልናዮም ኢና እምበር ክንውድኦም ኣለና ዝበሃል ዘረባ ይመፅእ ኣሎ ኣቑሲልና ኢና ገዲፍናዮም እቲ ዘረባ ስኢሉ ካብ ሓደ ዳኛቸው ዝመፀ ኣይኮነን ካብ መራሒ ናይቲ ሃገር ዝመፀ እዩ ካብቲ ቀዳማይ ሚኒስቴር ማለት እዩ ምስ ተመዛበልቲ ተተሓሒዙ ኣብቲ ዶባት እንዳኸዱ ክዛረቡ ዝስደዱ ዘለዉ ናይ ብልፅግና ናይ ፌደራል መንግስቲ ሰበስልጣናት እዮም ይቅስቅሱ እዮም ዘለዉ ሕዚ ህይወትና ክንሂብ ኢና ክሳብ መወዳእታ ገለ ዝብል ዘረባታት ይመፅእ ኣሎ እዚ ኣለርት ክገብረና ይግባእ ደጊሙ ክመፅእ ዝኽእለሉ ዕድል ኣሎ ፍትሕን ተሓታትነት ነብዘይብሉ ካሊእ መናእሰይ ትግራይ እቶም ኣካሎም ዝጎደሉ እውን በዚ መፅሓፍ እቶት ክሕገዙ ዝተባሃሉ እቶም መስዋዕቲ ዝኸፈሉ እውን ጀኖሳይድ ንምክልኻል እዮም መስዋዕቲ ከፊሎም ደልዮም መሪፆም ኣይኮነን ኦር ንማንም ኣካል ንማንም መራሒ ዝኾነ ኢሎም ኣይኮኑን ንባዕሎም ሓደ ከም ተጋሩ ሕድሕድ ትግራዋይ ኣማራፂ ኣይነበረና ዓርስና ዲፈንድ ድሕር ዘይጌርና በቃ ዓይንና እንዳረኣየ ክንመውት ኢና ማለት 1 ሚልዮን ገለ ህዝቢ ከምኡ ይጠፍዩ ገሊኡ ብጥይት ገሊኡ ከዓ ብጥሜት መድሓኒት ተዓፅይዎ ገለ ማለት እዩ ነዚ ንምምካት ዝወፀ መንእሰይ ትግራይ እንድሕር ፍትሒ ክነምፅእ ክኢልና ቁሱን እዩ እቲ መስዋዕቲ ዝኸፈለ ማለት እዩ ዕረፍቲ ይረክብ እቲ መስዋዕትስ ዝኸፈለሉ ኣብ ጫፍ ኣብፅሕና ፍትሕን ተሓታትነትን ክረጋገፅ እንድሕር ጌርና ነዞም ሰማዕታት ዓብይ ዕረፍቲ ዓብይ ቅሳነት እዩ ተቃለስሉ ጉዳይ ኣብ ሸቶኡ ክነብፅሕ የኽእለና እዩ ብዙሓት ተኣሰሩ ተጋሩ ከዓ ኣለዉ ኣብ መከላከያ ኣባላት ዝነበሩ ሕዚ እውን ኣብ ስደተኛ ካምፕ ኣብ ሱዳን ልዕሊ 200 ዝኾኑ ዓቃብቲ ሰላም ዝነበሩ ሕዚ እውን ኣብ ከቢድ ኩነታት ኣለዉ ኣብ መንጎ ኩናት ተቐርቂሮም ሎሚ ዶ ፅባሕ እንታይ መፀና እንታይ መፆም ዘይፈልጡ ዘለውሉ ኩነታት ኣሎ ናይ እዚኦም እውን ፍትሒ ክንሓትት ክንከል ኣለና ክፍትሑ ክልቀቑ ኣለዎም ብዘይ ኣግባብ እዮም ተኣሲሮም ዘለዉ ናይ ተመዛበልቲ ጉዳይ እውን ናይ ፍትሒ ጉዳይ ንሱ እውን ብደንቢ ክንሰርሐሉ ኣለና ክብል ይደሊ እዚ መፅሓፍ እዚ ናይ ኩላና ታሪክ ዝሓዘ እዩ ብዝበለፀ ካብዚ ከዓ እንደገና ንቐፃሊ ከምዚኦም ዓይነት ስራሕቲ ክመፁ እንድሕር ኮይኖም ዝከኣለና ኩሉ ደገፍ ንግበር እንኳዕ ሓጎሰኩም ክብል ይፈቱ እንኳዕ ሓጎሰና ንኩላህና ንዶክተር ግደይ ኣማረ ደጊመ ደጋጊመ ከመስግኖ ይፈቱ ቀጽለሉ ክብሎ እውን ይደሊ SJT ከዓ እዚ ሓሳብ እዚ ሒዝኩም እዚ መፅሓፍ እዚ ኣቕሪብኩም ኣለኹም ኣብ ብዙሓት ሚድያታት ክጋዋሕ ስርሕሉ ኢኹም ክብል ይደሊ ምስ ሚድያታት ዘለኩም ርክብ እውን ኣጠናኺርኩም ቀጽልሉ ብጣዕሚ የመስግን ዳኒ thank you
Alula Hawe. Appreciate it. I think Ambassador Fasaha is ready to speak ይመስለኒ Ambassador Fasaha, please go ahead.
Thanks again, Danny, and hi everybody. Salam Alula. It's nice to see you after a long time. As I will follow suit like Alula did, I just want to pass my greetings to those of us who don't speak English. I will be briefly speaking on the upcoming book and my personal experience with SJT. Hopefully there will be another forum when we can discuss and address the issues that Alula articulated so good. Having said this, I will now speak briefly in Tigrinya. نقولكم سلام أنا قاب أفتيزني هو عدة تزخون دسمولني. I consider myself more of diaspora than نواري مغلى أو زيون diaspora now صوعناتي. By the way, video that was for some reason every time we turn on our videos, the internet gives up. I don't know. Maybe they don't want us to be seen by our diaspora friends. أنا مس كلهم أو diaspora هم صراحة تفلطيهم. كم زبهالون مخته diaspora أيو تاريخ سريعه كافتم أو اشتزنور زينا أسي. تقاط أمزيانة أو هو تيملو تشريش تقولي. أبي أنت زخون يعني قبوي كفتم نيرين كحسب وزارة الدياسبورا عادة زنبرون أو مركز حيزة فقدهم هركو I wouldn't have contributed anything or experienced anything. So the بحرقز given this genocide war عدل هيورنا أيو نتقرأ حزب لنا خربل الدياسبورا رسرحو أنا ونمس دياسبورا بمنواري بتقرأ حزب قبنقر كم زرع أنا مقالة مسرعه إيه بزولة experience غيرية. For you to know بأخذكم زماسي celebrity أنا وزخة مازي بزحالف كوو ناي تلفزيون كزع سلازنا وران بتعميز قرمن بتعموني زخبدني كاب موت استرفو جاغانونا نعنا ني دياسبورا ايام بليصوم زول and I meant it أنا from diaspora I considers gubber and that's how I feel as far as Mahata is concerned. Now SJT بقرواي يسفلتو I consider myself in fact as part of SJT. كمان تلكمني after the never I منجست وكيل كوين كسر خلقه أبناء منجست وكلتي ناس راح كففن كنجبر advocacy ميديان زبل نجار كتاتل coordinate خجبر ستوهايوني therefore مش ميدياتات أنا يزرعها ونيره مس advocacy group سو أنا بالليستيز حاسكو نسجيت حويسو كاب 25 لعلي أنا أشتين عبيتين advocacy para diplomacy زبهالو نيرو بنايا ميدياون كومو 42 أولات اللو ميديا كانسل نيرو بنايا مزياتهم كلهم مستراخوكو كاب كلهم بسفلي ملكعو مس SJC regularize هون السرارحة إنا كيرنا ناي ميدا هنا تاتخقل صلوم يخيد نساتهم تايكم سراحهم زولو يقلصوني أما جمرة أوانات كما قيرنا بحوار كنسرح سعان التأماما بتعمل خبيد اكسبرينسينا حليف ده بزوح نقرينا تماهيرنا that's what I learned how to be tolerant حارنا من قصوة كلية سلامة يكونن therefore this is a messaging for a week or a month. أو زلعلو كابتي نحوار نصرفون العلي نساعات وصو discussions نكايد نيرنا يزي كله مسحالة فما جرشو انتاي كوينو كلتينا ترارارينا أنا وصرن نحاسكو بريفينغ خقبر كابزبل SJT ون دليكا اينا هاوزول regularize خقبر اللو سلذي the last Friday once a month انت حاليفو 5th Friday حال حاليفو خاعة أو كالاي ورحي كنراخب لنا زبل السرارحة أغميتنا and تحتات النت نيرونا أنا ونكركب نيروني سرحة حيزي SJT ونكركب نيرو so much so بحبار النسرحو سرح مسرحنا نعي السنة بيثو مني يخد يزي نحاد ورحي كونه نخلط ورحي كونه تتقاقي دكتور تكا كرمني خيليو I think throughout the مخطي regularize كيرناي and we became indispensable to each other. أنا ون بذي SJT organize بخونه ملك عزح اللي فولو سرار حيني ورنن نساتمون for whatever it is worth they consider me as a partner. إذي كلكم كله كم تجارو بزوح experience نحلفنا بزوح discussions. أفتنا مجمرة أوانات في اللاي زخونة نجارات establish كساع نجبر عم جرشو جن so much so أنا أو SJT أنا زقل يكونن أنا ون أكالو غير سلذا حسب consistently نابزي انتبه from day one to this date have advocacy professional سرح group SJT and I am so proud that I have worked with SJT أنا زرخبكو نعرسون بزوح friendship أفريق صعدي including Dr. Taka and others ولا تفاتيتنا أبزح مسحاب زبس أحناون لو متمليسنا في مزرعة كلنا more impression عن الجبر يعني دكتور تكا is my witness هاوزين هي تقلال لو ديكتات كتجورنا هذا النور سوات أما جرشا ديمقراط كوين رخي ومني بزح سبق على تزرروني رزي زلويو سلذي بيجبو tolerance تمار كله بزحات فلاتات زلوه كم دي زامسله أو سومن نعاي نحدا من قست وكيل أو سومن بانتاي كم صار حكومي لخطيقهم نورمال زوصدلو assignment وسيدو كاو كندا كاو أمريكا and this for over a year سلذي ناي SJT ناتي experience أبز هونا جزيز مش كلهم سريع أي حكيو مزي سرح هو محبر يلن because I was representing the regional government at that time last things هونا سرح advocacy من الباتنا عيون بزح زمهرني SJT عنتو قليزكم ونيركم زخونا محبر زخونا كامباني زخونا منقستي كلهم سوات بمعرى يكونوا واسول نوكليس اللو كور اللو and the credit of Dr. Taka and تحرايون دكتور مهتمة انكالوتن كساع مجرشا consistent يلوم حدا شاع دبلومات يكونوا حدا شاع متعرقتي يكونوا حدا شاع fierce fighters يكونوا that is what leadership is عب قدميو مزراوي تلمدن أنا تقارنبر ناي دكتور تكا عينة عقست أنا فرقو تزهلوني كالي سرح مسرحو بدياسبورا مغنياتو أنا حالفة مسع زميوني خيري مشلني زنادة دولو ديسميس تقولوا له هنا تاتني رأيي صفلتي نعوز خون لازاك ما أنت أيسول لهاجا كواول الدكتور تكا خنا دون أي خيلنا أو كل زرع هو نسي نخالو تون أو نهلو هنا قرب نيري أب SJT كلتا سلسة يمزن كاسا أسوه consistent يوم تقاقي سوي قرحو يا من قست أخي وامس أكو كاسل كدويلهم تخمزي أزبلتس كمزي أغير كاستخاخ الله يبلوقا without mentioning دكتور تكا رحال كالوت وداوتات تايلو من عاي فساكو نعنا خم كالاي ولادو كم بخرو دوغن SJT يزرعوا يولون نيرو which is fine SJT ون كم كل يزفلتو سلذي لو مخزارو زدلو تايو اتاري اياتا سريركم I can't wait to read the whole book أبزيون ሓልሓሊፍኩም ትርእና ትኾኑ ኣብ ሚድያ ግዛዕ ቀርብ ዲያስፖራ ጨሪሱ ከም ዝደቀሰ ከም ዘይንቀሳቀስ ዝብል ነገር ኣነ ኣይቅበሎን ከምቲ ዝነበርናዮ ናህሪ የለን እምበር there are examples that the diaspora is still working እቲ ኢንዲቪጁዋል ዝገብሮ ዘሎ ኣብ ድርቅነብ ግዛዓን ገዲፉ SJT ማኣት ስራሕ ማኣስ ጠጠው ኣቢሉ GSTS ማኣስ ስርሖም ገዲፎም ካልኦት ኣድቮኬሲ ግሩፕስ ባዕልኦምና ሚድያታትና ማኣስ ስራሕ ገዲፎም just because እቲ መንግስቲ ክንዲ ዝግብኦ ስርሑ ሰሪሑ ከንቀሳቀስ ስለ ዘይከኣለ ኣነ ናይ ዝሓለፈ ታሪክ እውን ስለ ዝፈልጦ without any leadership መንግስቲ ትግራይ ብዝጠፈሉ እዋን እዩ ዲያስፖራ ዝሓይስ ተንቀሳቀሰ ኣሉላ ኩሉ ሻዕ ዝብሎ ነገር ኣሎ ቆላ ተንብየን እናሃሎ እቲ ዲያስፖራ ሓዊ ኮይኑ ተላዒሉ መንግስቲ ኣለና ምስ በለ ተፀበ ሊደርሽፕ ኤክስፔክት ገይሩ ኢሉ ስለዚ ንኻልኦት በዘጋጣሚ እዚ ከሕልፎ ዝኽእል ናይ SJT ዝፀሓፎ መፅሓፍ ማእኸሉ SJT ግበር እምበር ናይ ኩሉ ዲያስፖራ ምንቅስቃስ እዩ ባይዘወይ ናይ SJT ኣባላት ናይ ምንቅስቃስ ታሪክ ኣይኮነን ኣብ ኣድቮኬሲ ሊድ ኮይኑ ዳኣ ፅሑፍ የውፅእ እምበር ተንቀሳቀሰ ኦል ግራስሩትስ ኦርጋናይዜሽንስ እየን ሰላማዊ ሰልፊ ዝወፅእ ትግራዋይ እዩ እምበር ናይ SJT መንበር ጥራይ ኣይኮነን ስለዚ ሚስ ኣንደርስቱድ ከይግበር ኣብ ዝኾነ ዙምኣት የበቀዳማይ እውን SJT ሓደ ፅሕፍ ተሓደ ፅሕፍ ክንደይ መፅሓፍ እዩ ክፅሓፍ ኢሉ ተተፅሓፈ ነውሪ የብሉ ኦርጋናይዜሽንስ ኩን ራይት እታ ዘለ ግን SJT ግን የተሓባብር ዳኣይ ነይሩ ኢንተርናሽናል ኣድቮኬሲ ግሩፕ ኮይኑ እምበር ኣነ እውን ስለ ዝነበርኩ ኣፈይ መሊአ ዝዛርበሉ ከመይ ጌርና ኣውስትራልያ ሰላማዊ ሰልፊ ግበር ኢሎም ዲስካስ ምስኣቶም ነይረ ረቂቕ ሒዞም ክመፁ ምስኣቶም ፀኒሐ ፕራዮሪታይዝ ንግበር እዚ ኮነን ካረንት መሰጅስ ንክብሎም 3 ሰዓት ሙሉ ተኣኪብና መልክዕ ነትሕዘሉ ነርና and I will never forget the patience the diligence that SJT's leadership had shown ብጣዕሚ ሲሪየስ እዮም ቶም ሊደርስ ንዓርቢ ሓንቲ ነገር ድሊቨር ክትግበር እያ እንተተባሂላ ብዓርቢ እያ ትወፅእ ዶክተር ዓንቶይ ዛረብ ነይሩ ባይ ዘ ወይ ቶም ዝፅሕፉ ሰባት ገለገሊኦም እዮም ቅድሚት ንሪኦም እምበር ከም ትፈልጥዎ ፍቑድ እዮም ኣሳይንመንት ሒዞም ዝኸዱ ተፎር ናይ 3-4 ግሩፕ ነይርዎ ሪሰርች ዝገብር ዝፅሕፍ ኮኦርዲኔት ዝገብር and I have the pleasure of working with them ከምቲ ዝበልክዎ እታ ሲናፕስስ ምህረፊት እያ ተውዝንየ ነገራት በሙሉእ ከምቡክ ንክወፅእስ እንታይ ኮነ ይመስል ኢለ እዩ ተፎር ዶክተር ግደይ ዋል ግሬትፉል ብዝኾነ መልክዑ ቃልስና ክፅሓፍ ኣለዎ ሓንቲ ፅቡቕቲ ዝርያ ዘለኹ ኣብ ትግራይ ይፅሓፍ ኣለዎ መፅሓፍቲ ዶኩሜንቴሽን ይወፅእ ኣሎ ባይ ዘ ወይ ናይ TDF ገድሊ ዶኩሜንተሪ ክወፅእ ካብቶም ዕሪ ተዋስአ ናይ ዶክተር ተካ እዩ ከም SJT it's just once already ካብቲ ተፀበናዮ ላዕሊ ገንዘብ ተረኺቡ ኩሎም ይሰርሑ እዮም ዘለዉ ምስኣቶም እውን ኣነ ሓደ ምኽርታት ንመኻኸር ኢና ኣብዚ ሓደ ቲንክ ታንክ ጌርና ስለ ዘለና ናብኡ እናመፁ ይሕግዙ ሓሳብ ሃቡና ይብሉና እዮም እና እስኖት ኣብ ሓንቲ ንግረ ኣይኮነን ኣብ ኢሹስ እዩ ከምቲ ሓንቲ ዝበልኩሞ ሕዚ እውን ኒው ላይፍ ኢንስቲትዩት ኒው ላይፍ እትኢልና ኣሎ ናብና ቃልሲ ሪሊ ሊተራሊ ጌቭ ኣስ ኒው ላይፍ ነቲ ጉዳይና ኣብኡ እውን ስፕሬድ ኮይኖም ይሰርሑ ኣለዉ ደፎር እቲ ንሕመዮ ተጋሩ ታሪክ ዳ ይሰርሑ እምበር ታሪኮም ኣይፅሕፉን ዝብል ሕዚ we are negating it ታሪክ ክንገብሮ ኣለና ንሱ ንዓርሱ ተው እቲ ኢኒሽቲቭ ወሲዱ ግዚኡን ርእሱን ኢንቨስት ገይሩ ነቲ መፅሓፍ ዝፀሓፈ ዶክተር ግደይ I can only say thank you this is part of the struggle ቃል ስናጋና እዩ ከምቲ ኣሎላ ዝብሎ ዝነበረ ብዙሓት እሽታት ኣለውና ዕድል ተረኺባ ኣነ እውን እንታ ዝመሰለት ናብ ትግራይ እንታይ ይኾን ከም ዘሎ ናይ ዓርሰይ ፐርስፔክቲቭ ክነግረኩም ይኽእል እየ ናይ ሎሚ ግን እታ መፅሓፍ ስለ ዝኾነት ፕሊስ ፓብሊሽ ኢት at the earliest time possible already እቲ ሸውሃት ኣልዕለ ኣቢልኩማ ኢኹም and my hope is others also right እንኳን ዶ ተጋሩ ዝገበርናዮ ወፃኢ ታሪክ ውልቀ ሰባት ናይ ዓርሶም ኣብ መኸተ እዋን እንታይ ከም ዝገብሩ እኳ መፅሓፍ ክፅሓፍ ይከኣል እዩ I took more than what I thought will take. Danny, thank you. It's really a pleasure to see you all. يغني
Like Ambassador Fasaha said, Kalsina Ganayu. So we're grateful for you, Ambassador Fasaha, for your contribution and then your voice for the people of Tigray. We're going to go to Amara Lucas from Tigray Community, DMV. Welcome, Amara Lucas, your perspective and then why Tagaru should buy this book. Please put the ring if you don't mind. Thank you.
Yeah. You know, I have a very firm stand that a meeting by Tagaru for Tagaru should be in Tigrinya, unless otherwise there are diaspora-born Tagaru who don't speak Tigrinya. And of course, if there are some guests, we have to speak in English. So for today, I will say a word or two in the English language because we have a good friend, Russell. So out of respect, I'll say a few words in the English language. Now, when I saw the book, the first thing that came to my mind was, wait a minute. How did this good doctor of ours, how did he end up writing such a voluminous book? Where did he get the stamina, the time? And there was a puzzle for a while. So finally, I said, wait a minute, his name is Dr. Gidey Amara. Dr. Gidey Amara. So something clicked in my head. Anything and everything associated with Amara excels always. It's a joke, guys. I'm just kidding. I want us to have a little easy day. We can't be serious all the time, so I'm trying to give you a joke. Maybe it's a dry joke. Anyway, let me get serious now. Dr. Gidey, you did a fantastic job. Thank you. But forget it not that you are the product of SJT. So big kudos to SJT. The thing is, we just started the journey. We have a long journey to be had. So we should keep doing what we know, and that is helping our people, being voice for our voiceless people back home. There are some people here. I don't meet them on Zoom, but like Melita, Mickey Tigray, and others. Thank you all. We follow you. I follow you in particular. I follow you, and you are awesome. Thank you very much. Now, I want to say a little bit about Captain Eritrea. Captain Eritrea, thank you. And I want to make sure everybody knows this is not an isolated case. There are many, many Eritreans who stand with us. In fact, I should mention here that Mesfin, I think I saw Mesfin Ayeno. He has an organization with other Eritreans. I myself called Salam, and I myself am a board member of an organization of Tagaru and Eritrea called Finito Salam. And we have sent millions to Tigray, by the way. So we have to continue the relationship between Tigray and Eritrea. Apparently, our destiny is together. I mean, if there is no peace in Tigray, there is no peace in Eritrea, and vice versa. I think I don't want to take long time. It's just an honor to be part of this struggle. Let's continue the struggle. Thank you for the time. And finally, by the way, I am so delighted. I am so delighted being a board member of the Tigray community, Washington, D.C. metro area. We're so delighted that we are going to host, we are going to use our center to sell the book. I mean, we have a center, $1 million worth center. If SJT doesn't use it, who else? So you're welcome to use it anytime you want. Thank you. Good day.
We're grateful for you and then Tigray community in DMV area. Amara Lucas, thank you so much. You guys feel free to speak any language you want for the next speakers, please. By the way, Russell, I think it might have dropped already after his message. So Eleni, Waro, Eleni, are you here? I don't see Eleni. Eleni was...
Yes, Danny, I'm here, but I'm at work. I can't talk.
So we'll let you speak later on then if you can't speak right now.
Okay, 1 more hour.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to Itamasvin. We all know Itamasvin. He's been in this fight from the beginning, leading the DMV task force, protests and all those. So Itamasvin, welcome. If you can please give us your perspective about the book, as well as your reflection about the last 3 years. Thank you, Itamasvin. Go ahead. Masvin Ayana. Please unmute. Okay, I don't see Itamasvin.
I don't see him on the list, Danny.
He might have dropped. And then Fresgy as well. I don't think he joined us. Fresgy was one of the panelists. And then I don't see Professor Talahun. Professor Talahun, are you there? That's fine. And then I'm going to go all the way to Europe then. Solomon from Europe, again, your perspective, as well as the fight. If you can tell us a little bit about the fight in Europe for the last 3 years, protests, advocacy, diplomacy, and then your perspective about the book. Solomon. Do we have Solomon?
Professor Trahon بتليفونات الله علي.
Okay.
Solomon, okay, go ahead.
Okay, more Professor Trahon يقدمنا له بتسبه.
No, you can go ahead, Solomon. Then we'll go to Professor Trahon after that.
Okay. يعني لي سلامات أحدنا أخواتنا. Hello everyone. سلامون تخلاي مانو تيبال نبارنا تيف جرمانيو. اللي تفضلوا مالتيو. نقع كمزي نميات الرخبنا. ني حونا دكتور جدي أمارون. بتعمي غني لنا. تقالسي ناي دياسبورا قالسي ناخد سند جزي 5 وقت غيركا كم زبالة تاريخ وزخنا مصحف كتصحف سلازم كعكا بتعمي غني لنا نبل مو تي زبال زنبرة تي نوفمبر 4 كنت عشران كينات عجلة سعيد مستوى اللعب تقراي نحن ون بغلطو فينا أوشتي صومون زي ما اللي جزيه سيلفي وطينا كم تعنتو حدا حونا زقلتو النبرة ناي سيلف تموكروي نبرنان سوينا هنا وطينا ندقى مالتيو حزنا يحزنا بميجافون يبلنا سبيكرات يبلنا والحد يبلنا بقى مكيننا لعلنا وعبر تسافرنا أوتوبس كيرنا كينا دحراي أب جرمن أبناي كانسلر أوفيس زغورنا يسلفي أب جرمن 400 زخون ماكسيمم شبكة مثلنا خليلنا نتصبرها كمزي سراويت كاب حدا بوتا ናብ ሓደ ቦታ ዝንቀሳቀስ ዘሎ ዝመስል እዩ ነይሩ መፅኡ ዝነበረ ህዝቢ ማለት እዩ ብጣዕሚ ዝገርም እዩ ካበይ መፅኡ ዝኽሉ ትግራዋይ ዘይንፈልጦ እና ብጣዕሚ ኢና ተገሪምና ዋላ ሕዚ ሰልፍታት ይዳኸም እምበር መጀመርታ ዝነበረ ክልተ ዓመታት ዝኸውን ብጣዕሚ ዓብይ ቃልሲ ተገይሩ መንገዲ ሓደ ሰዓትን ሓደ መዓልትን ፈረቓን ዝኣክል ኣውቶቡስ እናተጓዓዘ እዩ ናይ ጀርመን ሕብረተሰብ ናብ ጀኔቫ ናብ ብራስልስ ጠቅላላ ኣብ ኣውሮፓ ተገበረ ምንቅስቃሳት ቀሊል ኣይኮነን እሞ ከዓንቶ ኣምባሳደር ፍስሃውን ይጠቕሶ ነይሩ ተጋሩሲ ታሪክ ንሰርሕ እምበር ታሪክናስ ኣይኒ ዝግቦን ኣይንፅሕፎን ኣይንምዝግቦን ካብኡ ንምንጠል ኩሉ ግዜ ማለት እዩ ዝኾነ ናይ ትግራይ ታሪክ ኩሉ ግዜ ብጎሮ ኣብቲ ንምንጠል ኢና ካሊእ ትረፍስ ኣሸንዳ እኳ ናህና እዩ ኩሉና ይደልዩ ኣለዉ ማለት እዩ ንምንታይ ናህና ሕምቀት እዩ ሰብ ወነንቲ ኢና ናይዚ ታሪክ እዚ ወነንቲ ንሕና ኢና ኢልና ስለዘይንካታዕ ስለዘይንፅሕፍ ንተሓድሽ ወለዶ እውን ንደቅና እውን ስለዘይንምህሮም ንዕኡ ዝኸውን ኣብ ስርዓተ ትምህርቲ እውን ስለዘየለ ኣብ ታሪክ ተሰኒዱ ስለዘይተፃሓፈ ቆልዑት ዋላ ሓንቲ ኣይፈልጡን ምስ ዓበኻ ኢኻ ዳሕራይ ኢኻ ትፈልጥዋ ከምዚ ዓይነት ታሪክ ድዩ ነይሩና ከምዚ ድዩ ኣክሱም ከምዚ ስልጣነ ነይሩዋ ድዩ ትግራይ ከምዚ ዳና ነርና ምስ ዓበኻ ዳሕራይ ኢኻ ትፈልጦ ካብ ቁልዕነትካ ክንገረካ ዝግባእ ታሪክ ማለት እዩ እሞ እቲ ኣብ ልዕሊ ትግራይ ዝሓለፉ 3 ዓመትን ፈረቓን ዝተገበረ ግፍዒ ዋላ ሕዚ እውን ዝግበር ዘሎ ግፍዒ ማለት እዩ ከምዚ ሓውና ዶክተር ግደይ ግዚኡ መስዋዕቲ ገይሩ ፅሒፍዎ ዘሎ ንህፃውንቲ ቆልዑት እውን ካብ ሳልሳይ ክፍሊ ንላዕሊ ንዘለዉ እውን ብንዓኣቶም ብዝምጥን ኣቀራርባ መፅሓፍታት እናተፃሓፈ መንእሰይ ትግራይ ሓድሽ ወለዶ ፈታዊን ፀላኢን ክፈልጥ ኣለዎ ተዳልዩ ክፀንሕ ክኽእል ኣለዎ ፈታዊኻ እዩ እናተባሃለ ኩሉ ኩሉ ሓውካ እዩ ሓውካ ትብል ሓውካ መፅኡ መሬት ናብ ገሃነም ይቕይረልካ ማለት እዩ ኢና ኩሉ እዚ ፅቡቅ እቲ ተፃሒፉ ዘሎ መፅሓፍ የቕኒልና እስካብ ዝበፅሐና ኣውሮፓ እውን ብሃንቀውታ ክንፅበ ኢና እሞ እዚኣ ክብል ዝፈቱ ብጣዕሚ ውሑድ ታሪካት እዩ ተፃሒፉ ዘሎ ከም ሓውና ብርሃነ ንጉሰ ሙሴ ቤዛ ካብኡ ከዓ ሕዚ ዘይተቐደሰ ዝብል ፊልም ሰሪሕዎ ዘሎ ብጣዕሚ ከምዚ ኣምባሳደር ዝብለና ነበረ ዓንቶ ናብ ትግራይ ብጣዕሚ ብዙሓት መፅሓፍትታት ይፅሓፉ ኣለዉ ብጣዕሚ ብዙሓት ፊልምታት እውን ይስርሑ ኣለዉ እዮም እዚ ካብ ኩሉ ንሕናስ ፊልም እንተዘይረኣና እውን ርኢና ናቲ ነገራት ብዓይንና ማለት እዩ እቲ ዝመፅእ ወለዶ ግን ከይርሳዕ ምእንታን ከይርሳዕ ንስቲ ዓብይ ፀገም ናይ ተጋሩ ዘለና ሕማም ምርሳዕ እዩ ናርሳዕና ዓብይ ፀገም ንኣቶ ለና ተመሊስና ማለት እዩ ከይርሳዕ ምእንታን ነቲ ሓድሽ ወለዶ ብዝምጥን መፅሓፍታት እውን ብእንግሊዝኛ ድዩ ብትግርኛ ድዩ ዝፅሕፉ ኣሕዋት እውን ተዝበዝሑ ፅቡቅ ይብል በዚ ኣጋጣሚ የቕኒየለይ ከየንውሓልኩም ብሩኽ ምሸት
Well, thank you so much, Solomon. Thank you for describing your fight. Professor Talahun, if you're available, unmute, please. The telephone Professor Talahun. Are you able to unmute? Okay, we can certainly come back to you or just leave and come right back. Then you'll be automatically unmuted, Malachi. Right now, you're muted. All right, so I'm gonna go to Gidey. What can I say about Gidey? We're so grateful for your advice, for your media work, Gidey, PR. always with us. We appreciate you from North Carolina. So, Abba Gidey, if you can talk, you can give us your reflection as well as your perspective about the book and why people should buy it. We would appreciate it. Thank you, Abba Gidey.
Thank you, Danny. You hear me? I'm traveling from one to the other. Okay, good. Well, thank you. Before I shift to my Tigrinya, I think I thank you all the SJT leadership team. I consider myself one of the fortunate to work with Dr. Taka, Dr. Matama, the young people, Danny, Asmina and others, those last 3-4 years. And thank you for Dr. Gidey actually to compile and make this book happen now. The power of the book, actually, I ordered it early and I got the book and I finished actually the book. My reflection or feedback will be in writing to deliver it to Dr. Gidey, but to say some thing about this book, I think the power of the book is a reminder to the people of Tigray that recognizes their struggle was equal in overseas. It is a good thank you gift to the TDF. It makes us actually to mobilize ourselves out of Tigray and for our friends actually to remind and give a credit for their help. And here it is. It's one of the gift of life to the people who've been involved in diaspora. It is a beginning, maybe volume 1 or part 1. It may not include every movement, everything, but it's very symbolic. And I think this is the right document. And this documenting events will help us, to teach our young people, but also to learn ourselves, our current history, to re-internalize it actually. It will encourage others also to continue, to document, to write, to research, as have been said by other speakers. But also the organizing effort, which makes SJT unique, is a main focus that I just been impressed. We can do a lot of things here and there, but it's not as powerful as organized effort like SJT. Like I said, I was fortunate enough to been wake up by Dr. Taka every night when we were in total siege. I was also participating in the Tigray Media Council. And I've been working with many of you directly or indirectly, maybe over 10 organizations involved in different capacities, including with your SJT PR. I think I'm not effectively did it, but I was the one I promote those SJT plans, protests, and campaigns actually in the media that we had. As Ambassador Fisaha was one of the players. We invited him to the Media Council. He was a friend of SJT, and I know he's not there, but this document will give us a hope. It is a memory. We always live in memories as well, Memories helps you to rethink about it again because we forget things. Until we get the justice, it is a helpful tool to use it. Actually, when we wish to have a paradigm shift in Tigray politics, we have a good version of the diaspora struggle. But also the people who help us, the lawmakers, the diplomatic communities, when we give them this copy as a gift, I think it gives them a value and credit also. The letter is a good reference, for those who live in different parts of the world also to remind their lawmakers, their friends, hey, with your help, we're here in one juncture, but the struggle is far from over, as many of them said it. So thank you for those of you who did the groundwork, the struggle, but also Dr. Gidey to compile this with the leadership of Dr. Taka for many years. And of course, Dr. Mahatma as well taking over the effort. Having said this, I will switch a little bit for 1 minute to my favorite language, Tigrinya. Is that okay, Danny, to just add 1 minute? Oh,
Yes.
ብዙሕ ተባሂሉ እዩ ኩልኩም ብተዛረብቲ ጋጣሚ ኮይኑ ከምታ ናይ ኣምባሳደር ፍስሃብ ካሊእ ሚቲንግ ስለ ዝነበርኩ I was really nervous not to miss this event ግን ናይ SJT ስራሕ ናይ ዳያስፖራ ቃልሲ ሓደ ዓብይ ዝተወደበ ስራሕ ስለ ዝነበረ ውዳብ ሓይሊ እዩ ክበሃል እንተሎ it's a proof SJT ብዙሓት ሓይልታት የንቀሳቀሱ ካብ ባዕለይ ጀሚሩ ኩሉ ሻዕ ዝብሎ I will always criticize Dr. Taka how many nights he woke me up ሰዓት ሕላፍ የነበረናን ዝሓለፍናዮ ጭንቂ ንፈልጥ ኢና ስለዚ ዝውዳብ እዚ ኣብ ሓደ ምዕራፍ ኣብፂሕና ኣሎ ናብ ካልኣይ ምዕራፍ መሰጋገሪ ድልድል ክኸውን ይኽእል እዩ እቲ መፅሓፍ ብዙሕ ነገር ኣካቲቱ እዩ ደብዳቤታት ጥራሕ ኣይኮነን ኢቨንትታት ኩሎም ቶም ዓበይቲ ኢቨንትታት ዘኪሩ እዩ ብዙሓት ደቀቕቲ ነገራት ዘይተካተቱ ክኾኑ ይኽእሉ እዮም ዓርሱ ዘይረአየ ሰብ ዓርሱ ዝሪአሉ ካሊእ ክፋል ክህልዎ መንገዲ ዝኸፍት እዩ ስለዚ እዚ መፅሓፍ እዚ ተሸይጡ እውን ንመሐገዚ ኣካል ጉድኣት ዝውዕል እንተኮይኑ እዚ just ከምቲ ዝበልክዎ is a thank you gift ነቲ ዝገበርኩምልና ነቲ ዝኸፈልኩምልና መስዋዕትነት ሞራል እዩ እዚ ናብራ ዝቕይር ኣይኮነን ግን ሞራል እዩ ሞራል ብገንዘብ ይልክዕ ልዕሊ ኩሉ ባዕሉ ፍቲ መፅሓፍ ውሽጢ ዘሎ መልእኽቲ እዩ ደቆም ኣሕዋቶም ወለዶም ንኩሉና እንቀሳቀስና ዓለም ለኸ ፕሮቴስት ስናገበርና በብከተምኡ ዝደኸምኩም ንዳኒ ካልኦትኩም መናእሰያት ካብ ስቴት ናብ ስቴት ንመኪ ትግራይ some of you that I see here ብጣዕሚ ዝገርም እዩ ነይሩ ንዓና ንዓበይቲ እውን ካባና ዝሐሸ ወለዶ ክንርኢ ዝገበረ እዩ ነይሩ ትናትካቶም ምንቅስቃስ ስለዚ ነዚ እንቅስቃሴ እዚ እውን ብተወሰነ ደረጃ ዘርኢ ስለ ዝኾነ እቲ መፅሓፍ መጀመርያና ምዃኑ ሓደ ቮሊዩም ምዃኑ እምበር ታሪክ ዳያስፖራ ቃልሲ ኣስተዋፅኦ ናይ SJT ሕድሕዲኣ ለተር ምሽጥር ኣላታ ኣብ ሕድሕዲኣ ደብዳቤ ነዚኣ ክፅሕፉ ዝሓደሩ ነዚኣ ክራፍት ክገብሩ ዝሓደሩ ነዚ ዝገበሩ ብድሕሪትና ብዙሓት ሰሙያ ኣለዉ ገሊኦም ሎም ሰሚዕናዮም ኣለና ገሊኦም ግን ስቲል ብድሕሪት እዮም ዘለዉ ነዚኦም እውን ነመስግነሉ ግዜ እዩ እዚ ኣጋጣሚ እዚ ስለዚ ዶክተር ጊደይ ካልኦት እውን ሓገዝቲ ተወሲኾምካ እዚ ቃልስና ብዝያዳ ብዝሐሸ ብብዙሕ ክዝገብ ናብ ታሪካዊ ሰነዳት ክቅየር ሰሙያ ነዚ መፅሓፍ እዚ ናብ ሙቪ ቀይሮም ነቲ ወለዶ ብዝጥዕም ገይሮም ክሰርሕዎ ኩሉና ንናዓቕምና ክንሰርሐሉ ክንፍትን ኢና ኣብ መወዳእታ ከምቲ ተባሃለ ቃልስና ይተወደአን ኣብ ሓደ ምዕራፍ ይበፂሑ ዘሎ እምበር ገና ሕዚ ውሕልና ዘድልዮ እዩ so we're going to refer back what did we do 3 years ago 2 years ago ንመን ኢና ዝፀሓፍና ኣብ security council ቮት እንትገብሩ እንተለዉ ሃገራት ዞም ብግሪን ንዓና ዝደገፉ ዓድታት ሎሚ ናይ ኒው ላይንስ ሪሰርች ድዩ ናይ SJT መፅሓፍ ድዩ ከም ታንክ ዩ ጊፍት እንሰደሉ ግዜ ገና ሕዚ እዩ ምክንያቱ ከይድና ፍትሒ ከይተረጋገፀ ከምቲ ዓንተወት ትበሃል ዝፀንሐ ቃልሰይ ተወደአን ሂወት ናይ ምድሓን ቁስሊ ናይ ምሕካም ደረጃ ኢና ዘለና እምበር ገና ፍትሒ ረኸብናን ተመነናያ ትግራይ ህዝቢ ትግራይ ኣስፓይሬሽኑ ክሳዕ ዝቕየር ኣብ ቦትኡ ክሳዕ ዝበፅሕ ስና ዳያስፖራ ቃልሲ ሪኢግናይት ንምግባር ዝጠቅም መፅሓፍ እዩ ነዚ ዝገበርኩም ኩልኩም ዝለዓለ ክብረትን ምስጋናን ኣለኒ የቀኒየለይ ዳኒ ይኣኽለኒ ካብዚ ብላዕሊ ብዙሕ ተባሂሉ ስለ ዝኾነ ታንክ ዩ